Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Are You Strong show. I have an awesome New Jersey homegrown guest here. And before I say his name, I just have to list all these accolades that this guy has. And I had to cut it short just because there's so many. But he came out of high school, Phillipsburg High School, right, in good
Yep.
old New Jersey, out West Jersey, in 1984 as the USA Today High School All-American. You know, that's huge. 1985 National High School Player of the Year, and again at Phillipsburg High School, takes his talents to no other than Notre Dame, where he won the national championship in 1988 as the captain of the football team, two-time All-American, two-time captain, and want to get into that. I don't think that's happened again, but two-time captain of the football team. 1988 National Maxwell Spirit of Notre Dame Award, 1987 CBS Defensive Player of the Year, 1987 Sports Illustrated Top 5 Linebackers of the Country, 1989 Sports Illustrated Top 5 Linebackers in the Country, 1988 Columbus Touchdown Club Defensive Player of the Year, Fiesta Bowl All-American, NFL Draft 6th round 1990, played for the Seattle Seahawks and the Miami Dolphins. Welcome to the show, New Jersey homegrown Notre Dame Fighting Irish NFL player Ned Bolcar.
Jeff, thank you. I'm honored to be on your show and look forward to the next hour or so. It's talking football and sports and life with you.
Yeah. Well, Ned, I got a ton of things to ask you, but before I rip into all these questions, why don't you just tell the audience just a little bit about yourself and we'll kind of roll from there.
Well, you kind of covered some of it there. So I was raised in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. My parents were, born and raised there. So I was third generation, and I have a lot of pride in where I came from. I love the town of Phillipsburg, the history, the culture, the 118 years of playing football, outstanding league playing, football. Somebody once said, "Well, you guys have the most wins in wrestling and the most wins in football because you've been playing a long time." I said, "Well, we've been playing very well for a long
For a
time,
long
and we
time.
continue to." And I love the fact we play Easton, Pennsylvania for 18 years, and I grew up there, brother, sister, two wonderful middle class family, two wonderful parents, and as you said, I matriculated from playing football, basketball, and baseball at Phillipsburg High School and had a lot of success in all the sports as a team, as teams, and myself as an individual, and have an opportunity to go to Notre Dame and my heart always said Notre Dame, and some people say, "Oh, I knew you were going to go to Notre Dame," because maybe they knew that I was a fan growing up. But by the time I had a chance to decide, Jerry Faust was coaching. Notre Dame was very successful in the football field, and once I took my visits, I realized that a lot of the facilities were not up to snuff with these other schools. But in the end, I chose to go to Notre Dame and, had some trying times and some very successful moments. And one thing I'm probably most proud about is being chosen as a team captain 2 consecutive years by my teammates, and that means a lot to me. And I had a chance to go and play in the NFL, and as the NFL stands for not for long. The key thing is to stay healthy, and I tore my ACL in my right knee halfway through the my first season, or about 7 games into my first season. And back then they had something called Plan B free agency, so they can only protect so many players on the roster at the end of the season. So you become a free agent, and I chose to go to Miami, A, to be on the East Coast, closer to my family, B, to play with an outstanding organization, which them and the Pittsburgh Steelers, I grew up, they were my teams that I cheered for in the 1970s. They were winning a lot of Super Bowls and with the
Yeah.
Steelers also. And so I got a chance to play for the legendary Coach Shula in Miami and play with Dan Marino and some other great players. And once again, injury here. My last injury, I tore my left hip flexor, and that pretty much ended my career. So, after 4 years in the league and a few injuries I never had before, it was my father who said, it's time to hang it up. You won't be able to play catch with your son someday in the backyard. And I didn't have a son at the time. I wasn't married, and but my father never pushed me. He always supported me. My mom always supported me. And when my dad says, it's time to hang it up, you listen. And then I wanted to, see what I could do next at the age of 27. And I had some friends, students, and other players that went on to work on Wall Street. And I didn't know much about Wall Street, but I wanted to go and you know, it was nice to make some money at a young age. Playing the NFL, it wasn't a lot, but I made more than most people did at that age. And Wall Street gave me a chance to continue that on for another 18, 19 years. And then after leaving Wall Street, I went the route of being an entrepreneur, a franchisee for Orange Theory Fitness, and got married. Have two young kids that are beautiful and still reside in New Jersey, in Warren, New Jersey. And I still follow the Phillipsburg State Liners. And my mom lived until 2 years ago. At the age of 94, she passed
Wow.
away. And now I'm involved with some other venture capital uh, situations with my brother, and then some real estate we own. But I recently got involved with Integris Financial and the Unblinded Group a few months ago. So I try to stay busy and have fun with my children. And that's how I met you, Jeff. That's why
That's
I'm
one
here.
hell of a long list of accolades and things you've accomplished, you know?
Well, sometimes I feel like I accomplished a lot, and sometimes I'm reminded, nah, Ned, you still got a long ways to go. And that's my lovely wife who reminds me. And but yeah, I never thought I would change careers, two or three different times. But one thing you learn on Wall Street is you don't stay in the same place very long, but that was in the same industry.
Right.
But when I left the industry, electronic trading was coming in, algorithms, a lot of things that took away the human element from
Yeah.
being a trader or a sales trader. Um, I cover institutional mutual funds and hedge funds, and back then, you could make a difference as a sales trader, especially at a few firms like Jeffries and Company and Cantor Fitzgerald and Whedon. Like we traded the worst stocks, the toughest stocks out there, and try not to affect the marketplace for our clientele, and we did it very well. And once electronic trading came in, it took out the human element. It was more algorithms and things like that, and also took the money out of the business
Yeah.
for a lot of us. So I decided it was time to get out from behind the desk, and it led me to, a franchise, this outstanding franchise, and then eventually got married and got a son who's 13 years old in eighth grade. My daughter's 12 years old, and try to take it one day at a time and
Yeah.
do the best I can.
Cool. So let's go backwards in time,
Yeah,
right? And let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to coming out of high school, Phillipsburg, recruiting. I know you and I chatted about it a week or so ago. You know, the recruiting process today, Ned, is just insane, right? These kids,
yeah,
the money, the crazy, the pressure. What was it like getting recruited out of high school? Because you didn't just get recruited by Notre Dame.
no,
You have this laundry list of big times college football programs that all
yes,
wanted you. How
yes.
did you make your decision? What kind of pressure was involved? Were your parents involved? Were you by yourself thinking about it? How did that all work out for you?
The recruiting even 10 years ago, but let's go back, how many, 35 plus years ago versus now, no similarities at all. Doesn't even compare. Back then, coaches, recruiting coordinators, if they had one, not every school had a recruiting coordinator. Could be a position coach would initially reach out to you, could start as early as your sophomore year,
Yeah.
usually not your freshman year. That's pretty early, but now they're recruiting kids eighth grade now. They're looking at
Right.
kids, are good little league or middle school players, every sport, every sport. Back then, not so much. They didn't have the staffing to do it. They didn't have the financial wherewithal to do it. I don't care if you were Notre Dame, Alabama, Yale University, Harvard with their endowment. They weren't spending that kind of money to recruit players and,
Right.
and what they're doing nowadays. There was no NIL, there was no transfer. Basically, if you got recruited, you felt blessed that you were considered good enough to be looked at by any number of schools. And I didn't know that. I didn't go to Phillipsburg High School saying I'm going to play college football. I actually grew up loving basketball. I was 6'2" in seventh grade. I thought I'd be 6'6", 6'5", playing for Digger Phelps at Notre Dame or Dean Smith at North Carolina.
Yeah.
And instead, I said a prayer one night. I said to God, I said, well, I can't be a running back. I don't know too many inside linebackers that are like 6'5", 6'6". So I did say a prayer, and God answered my prayer because I never grew a single inch since that night I prayed in seventh grade. My brother's 6'5", my sister's 5'11", and yeah, I'd love to be 6'5" right now. I would love to be 6'5" back then, anything bigger, unless you can play basketball or make money doing it, anything over 6'6" is like a waste of space.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be that big. But anyway, um, I went to Phillipsburg High School and I hadn't played football in 2 years because I was too big. The weight for like midgets back then was
Yep.
120 pounds. I weighed 167 in eighth grade. Went to Phillipsburg. I was 175, 6'2" athlete. And like I said, basketball is my favorite sport, but I quickly realized that I wasn't growing anymore and I was pretty good at football. My freshman year, I had a lot of success at the freshman level, JV level, and I played special teams on varsity. And it just so happens, by crazy things happen in the world, a senior linebacker didn't get the jock strap he wanted or extra pair of socks for practice the week of the Easton Phillipsburg Thanksgiving Day game. And God rest his soul, he's no longer with us, but he decided he's not going to play football anymore. So I had played enough varsity on special teams. Wednesday night we had practice underneath the lights. Myself and two other players, Jimmy Horvath and Alan Brewster, we would practice with the freshmen. And then we come down Wednesday night, the JV and varsity would be underneath the lights at Maloney Stadium. And Bob Stem would say, Bolcar, Brewster, Horvath, come on over. So think about what they do nowadays. They only hit in practice. They bring their own water bottles to practice. They wear things college to measure their heart rate
Yeah.
and their
Yep.
exertion rate. We
Yep.
practiced 2 hours with a freshman, full pads, came down, and we started practice all over again. We ran a lap with the JVs and varsity, and we practiced for 2 hours, live hitting, live special teams underneath the lights. And I played very well against the older guys. I was a freshman. That Bob Sten looked at me when this other senior, the senior said, I'm not going to play. He's done. He said, Ned, you're going to start on Thanksgiving Day, which is 2 days away, at linebacker. There's one older guy who kind of thought he should have been playing, and Bob Stem nicely, kindly said, Coach Stem said, shut your mouth and do your job. Well, we ended up winning 32 nothing that day, and I have 14 tackles, and I had a real good game as a freshman, and suddenly I was getting phone calls and letters from schools all around the country by the time I was starting my sophomore season. And we had a lot of success my sophomore, junior year. I got better and better, and I ended up playing my last 2 years linebacker and running back, and we won a hell of a lot of games at Phillipsburg High School. And I played with some great players who went on to play at Lehigh, Lafayette, Delaware, Dartmouth, Arkansas, you name it, Ivy League school down, Patriot League schools, Susquehanna, you name it. I was the only one guy with Arkansas, but I was probably the only legit Division I player on our team. I played in a league that Ed McCafferty came to, won a Super Bowl with Denver Broncos,
Yep.
played for the Giants. His son is Christian McCafferty.
Yep.
Ed's from Central Catholic in Allentown. I played against Mike Wolf, played 13 years in the NFL as offensive lineman for the Phoenix Cardinals. Mike went on to play at Boston College. They were both a year younger than me, and there's a few other guys out of that league. Danny Tanzos went to Pitt, played tight end. His brother was at Notre Dame, was a linebacker. Oh, Dave Kansas was my age. Danny was a little bit older. But Matt Millen came from Whitehall. Saquon Barkley, Whitehall. Andre Reed, Buffalo Bills, Hall of Fame. He's from Deer High School in Bethlehem.
Yep.
The legendary 60-minute man. Chuck Bednarik is from
Yep.
high school. We played Allen, and he played for the Eagles. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
My high school, Jim Ringo's in the Hall of Fame. Our field house is named after Jim Ringo. He played at Phillipsburg. Bill Walsh, not the Bill Walsh that you know of from coaching. Bill Walsh went to Notre Dame and won the starting job as a freshman and beat out an All-American who was injured, never got his job back. I think he moved to guard. So Bill Walsh went on to coach 30 years in the NFL as assistant coach, not the head coach
Yep.
maybe thinking with the 49ers. So there's a lot of tradition in Lehigh Valley and the East Penn Conference I played in. So when the schools recruited you, they were used to recruiting Lehigh Valley. There were a lot of good players that came out of the area, and it was phone calls, letters, cards, and my dad were both terrific. My mom was the secretary who basically would kept everything in order. To this day, if you go in my basement, I can open up boxes and plastic boxes of all the letters from all the coaches. Even Wake Forest, they kept calling me Red Bolkin. They never once got my name straight. And finally, when I spoke to the coach, the beginning of my senior year because they didn't talk to you all the time until about your junior year into your
Yeah.
senior year really happened. But your junior year, second half of the school year, they really wanted to contact you. And I said to the coach from Wake Forest, I said, I don't know where Wake Forest is. I know it's in North Carolina somewhere. I said, but you don't even know who you're speaking to. And they're
Yeah.
like, yes, we do, Ned. I said, well, every letter I got from you, which is hundreds, says Red Bolcar. And they were a little bit embarrassed about that, but I knew right away that there's some schools I wasn't interested in. I kind of narrowed it down pretty quickly just because I knew it was too much for my mom to handle, too much for me.
Yeah.
Playing basketball season, baseball. I was a very good student. I graduated, top nine in my class at Phillipsburg High School out of, almost 370 some kids. And, I didn't want to be on phone calls with coaches from, name a school. I narrowed it down to like 15 schools really quickly.
Yeah.
But what was interesting through this process, which many young people even today don't get to experience, and back then definitely no one got to experience. US Today was a new newspaper that just came out about a
Yeah.
year before. One day I get a phone call. My mom gets a phone call, my dad, and they spoke to them and then got me on the phone and they wanted to know if I was interested in interviewing with the top, people, top brass at USA Today, CEO, CFO, 20 other people. They were trying to follow a high school, they wanted to follow a high school player, and they chose football as a sport. And then they wanted to do a diary on the recruiting process. And I don't know if it was ever done before. USA Today was new. So I was going to be one of like 30 high school players that were, highly recruited. They wanted to interview us and make a decision if who they were going to go with. And I said, sure, why not? Sound like something different, something
Yeah.
interesting. And so the following weekend, I had a phone call with there was no Zoom back then, so you're just on a
Yeah.
phone call and
Just regular telephone
yeah,
call.
there's 20 some people around the table there, and they're asking questions. It goes on for about at least an hour. And 2 weeks later, we get a phone call saying, Ned, we want you to be our focus athlete. Okay. So as I got to know Reed Scherner was the sports writer at the time, and Reed Scherner and I became wonderful friends for a long, long time. I haven't spoken to him in a few years. I should give him a phone call, but I did for a long time keep in touch with Reed Scherner. And in the process of speaking to him thousands of times over the next 12 months and he visited Phillipsburg and the high school and always undercover. Like he was never nobody knew who they were even if the camera crew was on the sideline, it was very, it could have been a local TV crew. And the only people I knew was the superintendent of schools, Peter Maluzzi, Mr. Lutz, Kennedy Lutz was the principal, Phil Rom, my head coach, and my parents and me. That's it. Nobody else besides people at USA Today, and that's it that knew this was happening. And along the way, I asked Reed, I said, how did you end up choosing me? He said, well, Ned, you do like to talk. And we had some guys who were yes, no, hmm. He said, so you were probably one of the more communicative athlete, football players we spoke to. Definitely friendly and definitely well spoken, can be argued. But that's how they end up choosing me. And it's looking back, it was a blessing. I learned so
Yeah.
much about the recruiting process because I had to follow it so closely because I had to talk about it 2 days a week for at least 45 to half hour, 45 minutes a night from February of my junior year all the way past signing date.
Yeah.
And so I had to keep a little bit of a diary, but I had to, you know, talk about what was happening from the smallest thing to during visiting one night. I had both Michigan and Ohio State coaches show up at the same exact time at my front door.
Oh man.
To other incidents that good and bad that happened along the way. I try to always be careful. Like I didn't want to, you know, hurt anybody and there wasn't that many people talk about illegal recruiting. Like you have to be looking for something to get something.
Yeah.
And I'm looking back on it, nah. Oh, put it this way, I was never looking. I came
Yeah.
from a family where you just do your job and you do it well and you don't ask for handouts, and
Yep.
therefore people knew that. And
Yep.
at one point, somebody thought my mom was a born again Christian, which she's not. She's just a good Catholic lady that
Yeah.
went to church, you know. And
Yep.
but years later, I used to think, maybe I should have, because birds of a feather flock together. You know,
Yeah.
you're kind of safe when you have something over the coach's head a little bit or the school's head, and that that just is from experience of being around for a while and learning some lessons of life.
Yep.
But I never had much of that. But it was a lot of phone calls, a lot of mail. You can only take 5 visits. I didn't go to a game during the season. None of that stuff happened back then.
Yeah.
Then you had to, from your one visit to the school, multiple phone calls, what limited time you could see a team play on TV back then, which
Yeah.
was very
Yeah.
limited. And you had to make a decision where you wanted to go to school. So, it's, I could talk for hours about,
Yeah.
I won't,
Yeah.
for
Well, let
the
me ask
sake
you
of the
this.
podcast, but
As an 18-year-old kid at that time,
yeah,
right? Like, oh, you had a ton of recognition. The average kid can't handle too much, but
yeah.
you're the number one recruit, if right?
Well, I was one of a lot of very good players that were recruited that year, but I was the
Wait,
Parade Magazine defensive player, but I was not USA Today's defense player of the year, even though I was the guy they did the diary on. I was on their US there, I was
yeah,
on the USA
on the
All-American
team,
team.
yeah.
But so there's a lot of outstanding players. If
But
I
how
was
did
that great, I would have been the first pick in the draft, 5 years later. So
but how did all that recognition, all that attention, did that affect you to the point like it was
no,
harmful, or was it just
no.
made you stronger?
Just made me, I was always focused. I had, like I said, I had good parents
Yeah,
who would basically tell my older brother, Brian, and myself, you're not going to play sports growing up unless you did very well in school. So school was always a priority for us.
yeah,
My mom and dad would be more proud about me getting an A in honors algebra 2 or
yeah,
geometry or calculus than, having 15 tackles against Bethlehem Catholic or
yeah,
Easton, even though they love that. They
yeah.
absolutely love that.
They had to come together.
In basketball, we had a lot of success in basketball. And I was fortunate. I was a captain every year, senior year of baseball, basketball, and football. I played with some excellent teammates. Like I mentioned, I played with some wonderful teams in every sport. But no, I had friends who could keep you grounded because
Yeah,
I played every day with some really good players.
yeah.
And we play against really good athletes and really good players and teams. So, you get humbled very quickly, especially a sport
I
like
was just gonna
football.
say you're a pretty humble guy with such a successful background. You don't find
Well,
too many guys that are that humble.
I'm not so sure about that. I know a lot of wonderful athletes and who had a lot of success, a lot more success than I did, in the Hall of Fame, and they're very
Yeah.
humble and they're
Okay.
very grounded. And I know guys who weren't very successful who are not humble, but that's just their
Yeah. Yeah.
personality. And
Yeah.
and if they were doing whatever thing in their life, they would still be, overconfident
Yeah.
and braggadocious, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, you know what? I played with too many great players on too many great teams against too many outstanding players and teams in every sport that, you quickly get humbled.
Yeah.
And you play football where you're getting hit or hitting them, you get humbled very quickly.
Yeah.
So no, I always wanted to do the best I could. I think there was a great quote by Dave Casper, who was a great tight end with the Oakland Raiders.
Raiders.
Played
Yeah.
played at Phillipsburg, played at sorry at Notre Dame. The quote I read in the book was, "I feared losing more than I enjoyed winning." So I feared failure more than I did enjoy the success. I mean,
Right.
success carries you through the next 24 hours to the
Yeah.
next practice, the next game. Losing a game, especially in football, because you only have so many of them.
Yeah.
Basketball, you got a few more. Baseball, a few more. And also, you're striking out, and there's many moving parts to a baseball game. But you can hold on to those wins only so long, but the losses never go away.
Yeah.
The loss is always there, and so one thing I'm always proud about is that yes, we won a national championship at Notre Dame. In my 5th year there, we finished number 2 in the country, 12-1, and probably played the toughest schedule. We played the toughest schedule in the country, and we had probably a more talented team than the '88 team. But I'm very proud of both of those things. but I'm equally proud that I started and won at Phillipsburg High School against Easton, Pennsylvania, all 4 years. And
Yeah.
my friends from Phillipsburg love when I talk about it. My friends from Easton don't like it so much. They'll say they won 20 sometimes in the last 28 years, which is true. And I'm a little frustrated watching that. But yeah, we never lost. And we never
That's
thought we'd
great.
lose. And they were good teams. Easton always had good teams. They still do. They just finished 14-1, set a school record this year, lost to
Jeez.
which is a major powerhouse out of Philadelphia called the Sal College High School. If not, they probably would have been playing Pittsburgh Central Catholic in the state championship game, 6A, and that's pretty. And that's how they were that good back then. They were really good. So I'm very proud about that.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a big thing to be proud of.
Yes.
So you show up 18 years old, freshman, Notre Dame. What the heck was that like? I mean, you walk into a house of monsters. These guys
Yes.
are
Yeah.
massive men.
Yeah. One thing that happened when I started to take my trips, which my first trip was to Notre Dame. The season just ended Thanksgiving Day. Basketball was already beginning. Guys who weren't playing football or were already wrestling in practice. They already had basketball practice for 2 weeks. So we had a lot of guys that played multiple sports in high school. You know, some of our best players played basketball and football and baseball and track, and other guys wrestled and football and baseball, track, whatever. So I took my visit before my second basketball practice out to Notre Dame. I came back, I was like, holy smokes. Well, before that, I was actually thinking, I'm sorry, I was only like 200 pounds. I was 6'2", 190, 200. I only lifted weights for 1 month out of the summer because we played summer basketball, you play baseball, you play basketball, football. We didn't lift weights back then.
Yeah.
There was no time to lift weights when you were playing multiple sports. So I was muscular. I could hit. I was quick. I had a good nose for the football. I was a good athlete. Um, but I thought maybe I'll take off and not play basketball and baseball this year. Maybe I'll focus on lifting weights and so I can go off to college and be 220 pounds if I'm lucky, because I couldn't gain weight. And I went out to my visit to Notre Dame, and they weren't winning. I really liked the players, the student athletes. I liked the students out there. Jerry Faust was a nice guy. Wasn't they weren't having much success, but I did go play basketball on campus with a bunch of the football players, and I realized, wow, these guys are phenomenal athletes. They
Yeah.
are great athletes. From Steve Berline to Tim Brown to you can name so many guys I can name that were there that day. You know, they were better basketball players than we played in the state championship game against Ewing my sophomore year to win the Group 3 state championship in Phillipsburg. I saw better basketball players at Notre Dame that played football. So I
Yeah.
came back and I quickly changed my mind. Like I am going to play basketball because A, we have a good team and I was a captain. But
Yeah.
also, I need to be quick. I need to be athletic. That meant more in that level than me being bigger. And
Yeah.
then came baseball season, and the same thought went through my mind. And I said, okay, I went through basketball, athletic, baseball. You know, I was a very good baseball player, but am I going to play Division One? No, I'm going to Notre Dame to play football. So this will be the season I start lifting weights. And we're driving practice, and there's still snow on the ground, and we're practicing inside the gymnasium at the high school. My dad's driving. He said, Ned, he said, I'm going to tell you one thing. One day, you're not going to have a game to play anymore, and it's going to be over. And I remember seeing the snow on the baseball field, headed to the gymnasium, driving my dad his little Toyota Celica. He said, if I was you, I would play as many games as you can because when it's over, it's over.
Yeah.
Well, when I was 27 years old, and my dad was still alive. I was working on Wall Street, and I'm driving by that baseball field and it's snow on the ground. I say, thank God I listened to my dad. Because we finished number two in the conference that year, lost the championship game, had a wonderful time with my teammates, great experience. And I tell young people this day, play as many sports, as many
Yes, you can.
games, compete because it ends. I don't care if
Yeah.
you're 18, 10,
Yeah.
27 or 41, like the Tom Brady or George Blanda in his 40s, it ends. And when it ends, you don't put that helmet back on again, especially football.
And when it
There's no,
ends, it
yeah.
hurts. It hurts when it ends.
Well, you realize, that what you're used to doing every day, which was just natural, like feel like, how do you go out there and hit like that and take the punishment, give the punishment? You just get used to it. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
Once you stop, you look back and go, how did I do that?
Yeah.
How do these guys you watch on TV? How do these wrestlers, and the football player, how do the hockey players, the brutality of the sport, but yet the beauty of the sport, how do they physically keep doing it? And you don't think about it when you're doing it. It's when you stop
Yeah.
and go into life and work a regular job. And I uh and one thing you realize too is the emotional high that you get competing,
A
whatever it may
euphoric
be.
state.
You
It's a
can run
euphoric
cross
state.
country,
Yeah.
do marathons now, whatever you do, but playing football, the mental high you have to get yourself mentally to emotionally play, especially these physical sports. I
Yeah.
mean, not only do you have to be, ready to compete, but you got to be ready to compete and be extremely physical.
Yeah.
Wrestling, football, rugby, very physical. And I had never found that high again in my life. I don't
Yeah.
care how much money I
Yeah.
made working on Wall Street, the biggest trade I ever did, how
Yep.
many Orange Theories I opened up, no matter
Yep.
what it was. The only thing close is my kids being born.
Yeah.
Them being born, every father, you don't realize what it means until that baby's born. The
Yeah.
mothers do because they go through 10 months till they have
Yeah.
babies. It's basically 10 months, really. It's
Yeah.
not 9. And so their body and their chemistry is saying, but for a man, it's usually until your baby's born you go, whoa, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
something changes over it. If you're a
Yeah.
normal kind of guy,
Yeah.
if you're a truly decent human being, you're
It's a
gonna feel
chemical
this.
change. A chemical
It
change
changes.
happens.
And that's the only time I could say I felt something like that. Never since. Never since football, just my
Yeah.
kids and that's it,
Yeah.
So you miss that part of it.
Yeah.
You miss leaving everything you got
Yeah.
out on the basketball court, the
Yeah.
football field. And
It's funny that you say that, Ned, because I ask a lot of the guests on the show about can you describe, and I say you can't, but can you describe that feeling in words?
no,
What it's like to be out there on the field
no.
playing, and when you're in the zone, in the flow, in the moment. Can you describe that?
The closest I can tell you is I think of one or two times that I was playing football, and it was probably more than that, but I'll say in college, pros, I wasn't there long enough or made enough plays to be in that zone, to be honest with you. But in college, I did, in high school for sure. But the zone for me would be wherever that ball's going, I'm there making a play.
Yeah.
I'm involved. Sweep right. They're right to my left. Sweep left, dive up the middle,
Yeah.
tight end down the middle, whatever it may be. And there were moments where I didn't do it, but I felt like I could make every single tackle on every single play.
You feel like Superman.
You don't feel that all the time. You are locked in where you don't hear the crowd,
Yep.
you don't feel the pain. You're so focused on every individual play that you're in your own cocoon. You got tunnel vision.
Yep.
But when you're in that zone that you're talking about, like when some of these great athletes, they're scoring 30, 40 points a game, massive amount of rebounds, football players, you name a sport, when they're locked in that zone, you feel like there's nothing that can stop you. Like
Yeah.
you can make every shot, you can make every tackle, every run you're taking the ball, you see the hole before it opens up. You see,
Yep.
when Saquon Barkley's at his top, with these great running backs, they feel untouchable.
Yeah.
Not every single play, but they have moments where
Yeah.
they cannot be stopped.
Yeah.
And that is indescribable.
Yeah.
And if you could bottle that feeling, that would be the best selling product in the world.
Yeah.
If somebody could take a pill and feel that,
Yeah. Yeah.
you make trillions of
Yeah.
dollars.
I say it's a drug.
It's a
And
drug.
that's why so many athletes don't know when to stop because they keep want to go back for that feeling again.
Yeah, I think more than anything, especially nowadays, the amount of money that
Oh,
some
the
of these
money's
players can
crazy.
make,
Yeah.
it's not about the money at some point for them, uh, even though it's good to make money. You don't get that good at a sport because you want to make money. You don't grow up playing outside in the snow, in the rain, the heat of the day or evening, whatever sport you're doing. you don't, go through the amount of injuries you do and play through, compete like you do because you think you're gonna make money. You're
Right.
doing it because you love it.
Yeah.
And as you have more success, it drives you to work harder. And those two things, success, hard work, and some talent. I'm not saying great talent. I'm saying some
Yeah.
talent can allow you to be successful.
Yeah.
And some guys, yeah, it's I'm sure with Tom Brady and he stands out because he won 7 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
He had trouble walking away. It wasn't the money. It
Yeah.
was the fact that he was out there. He was with the boys, the men,
Yeah.
and he was the feeling of camaraderie that you had,
Yeah.
feel the high that I'm mentioning of winning, losing, competing. He knew that he wasn't going to find it anyplace else. I
Yeah.
guarantee you, in that booth, making all that money, more than playing football, he doesn't have that high.
I'll bet you he's feeling more frustration in there than anything else.
Absolutely. I mean, you feel like a fish out of water
Yeah.
doing a lot of things. I mean, when I started working on Wall Street, I doubted myself every day. I didn't know anything about this industry. And once you become more comfortable and you start to understand it, and then you have your moments of being like, I'm in control.
Yeah.
Like I know what I'm doing. I can make a difference.
Yep.
And I think that's anybody who changes from one career to another career or
Yeah.
whatever it may be, but definitely, yeah. Yeah, Tom Brady's not out there saying, I'm making 300 or 400 million dollars,
Yeah.
whatever he's doing over the next 10 years. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm so no. He was more fired up when he was a rookie
Yeah.
in with the Patriots making 250,000, leading them to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He was much more excited than he is today. Now
Yeah.
he's that, and he didn't play extra 2 years for that money. He
No.
did it because he loved the sport.
Oh,
And
the love of the
that's Michael
game.
Jordan.
Yeah.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
top to the bottom, anybody who competes
Yeah.
understands that.
So I got to ask you about Notre Dame, Jerry Fouts, Lou Holtz. Two
Yeah.
different coaches, two different worlds, two different everything.
Yeah.
Jerry Fouts brought you in, but you won a championship with Lou Holtz. Just talk about the difference in the coaching, how they coached, what it
Yeah.
was like, and what was it like? This is multiple questions, but to be named captain twice in a school of that magnitude, of a team of that caliber.
Well, your first question, almost like the first question of the night was today's recruiting experience versus when I was growing up. Two different worlds. Don't even compare. Jerry Faust, wonderful man. As far as coaching a major college football team or Notre Dame in the spotlight, no comparison
Is he
to
still
Lou
alive?
Holtz. Huh?
Is
No,
he
Jerry
still?
passed away over a year ago. He
Okay.
passed away. Coach Holtz is still with us. He'll
Yep.
be probably celebrating his 89th birthday this month coming
Holtz's
up.
Heroes. It's on your
Holtz's
shirt.
Heroes right there. That's his legacy,
Yep.
and we're proud members of it. All the players, whether you're at Notre Dame or NC State or South Carolina, Minnesota, Arkansas, you're a Holtz's hero, and I'm a proud member of the organization, and it's Coach Holtz's legacy. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yep.
But I went to Notre Dame, like I said, I saw better facilities. I saw better looking girls at other schools. I saw more success at other schools. I saw a training table. I saw things that Notre Dame did not have. There's no training table to speak of. Now there is. There wasn't
Yeah.
back then. There's no athletic dorms, which I didn't care about athletic dorms, but the dorms I was moving into weren't renovated since 1890, probably. They look like they haven't been fixed since 1890. And my roommate and I each I gained about 20, he gained about 80 pounds freshman year. And
Yep.
he's a very good friend of mine to this day. The first room they gave us was so small across the hallway from the rector, who's a priest, lived right across
Yep.
the hallway. By the end of our freshman year, we would not be able to be in that room. We actually asked before the first day of school, can we move to a bigger room? Because I would have had to send, I didn't have many clothes. He had like a Foot Locker he made himself. He
Yep.
would have had to send that back to Chicago because the room was so tiny. Like you had to like turn around and rub into each other just moving. So we
Yeah.
did get moved to a bigger room with a roommate, which was awesome. A student, not a student athlete. It was a great experience. But Notre Dame had none of the frills, zero. We wore sweatsuits that had guys' names from 10 years ago. You got one pair of turf shoes, and you better not lose that pair of turf shoes because you're never getting another pair that year.
Yep.
Tim Brown would have to go down and probably arm wrestle Gene O'Neill, who's 80 years old, to try to beat Gino for a new jock strap because I think Gino, God rest his soul, was selling jock straps and socks to put his kids through college because that's how stingy they were with
Yeah.
everything. So I chose Notre Dame because in my heart of hearts, at 17 years old, just turned 18, I thought about Boston College, Doug Flutie, the city of Boston, Bill Romanowski. I met him up there. I said, oh man, great, university, great city, Penn State, linebacker U, Joe Paterno, the great teams they had there. I'm naming the schools I took a
Yeah.
visit to, Stanford, Jack Elway, the head coach. I met John Elway on my trip. You go out there, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, Stanford campus is beautiful, one of the best educations in the country. How can you not think about Stanford, besides it's 4,000 miles away or 3,700 miles away?
Yep.
Ohio State, great tradition, the Buckeyes, and then Notre Dame. I mean, I think that was my five schools. That was my five schools. And I had to make a decision the day before signing date because USA Today Diary ran 2 days before signing date, the day before signing date, the diary, and then the day of signing date, people had to wake up in the morning and say, "Where's this kid going to school?" Which was me. So we had a basketball game in Whitehall, Pennsylvania. I told our head coach, Tom Fisher, I say, "Hey, Tom, he was a teacher at Phillipsburg, legendary basketball coach." I said, "I'm going home. I'm not going to be up on the bus for the JV game to watch the JV game. I have to make this decision tonight." And he's like, "You go do what you have to. I'll see you at the game, the varsity game." And my parents drove me up there to Whitehall, Pennsylvania. And so I went back and forth, and my parents were exhausted by this time. This was 3 years of a lot, especially with this diary got involved. The amount of stuff they had to keep quiet, the amount of stuff they had to be able to the handle and the coaches and you name it, the different award ceremonies that as a team and me individually I got to go to, it became a lot for anybody. Plus, we had two other children in the family that they,
Yeah.
they had to take care of. And so when I was trying to make the decision, it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm going through my head, Stanford, Ohio State, Chris Spielman, Buckeyes, Penn State, right 4 hours away,
Yeah.
Boston College. Oh, if I ever got hurt, how great would it be to go to school in a city like Boston?
Yeah.
South Bend is not Boston. State College is not Boston. None of these towns, Columbus
Yeah.
isn't bad, it's not Boston.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I stopped, and my parents said, we'll do whatever you do, Ned. If you go to Stanford, we'll get out there a couple times a year. Go to Notre Dame, Penn State, we'll be there to see you." And they did. They had a great time. But I sat, I thought about it. I said, I grew up a Notre Dame fan. I cheer harder when they won in football or Digger Phelps won in basketball, Kelly Tripucka and John
Yeah.
Paxson and Orlando Woolridge. I got more excited and happy when they won, more upset when they lost than any other school. And I used to watch the George Paterno show on Sunday. Joe's brother George had the George Paterno show, and they would review the day before Penn State game. And they had some great teams, like I said, with Chuck Fusina, Kurt
Yeah.
Warner, Matt Millen, Bruce Clark. The
Yep.
list goes on of great players there. And so I was sitting there thinking, okay, Ned, if you win against Stanford, well, you probably won't win a national championship at Stanford. I actually didn't believe you could, and they can't. And
Hmm.
Ohio State is big in the Midwest. Penn State, big on the East Coast. You win at Notre Dame, which I always believe I'm going to win. I'm going to be part of a winner, no matter how bad the team was or
Yep.
the coaches. I said, this is not just big in the Midwest. This is big throughout the whole country.
Yeah.
I grew up around a lot of Notre Dame fans in Lehigh Valley. And how do you become a Notre Dame fan when it's, 780 miles away and Penn State is right up the road here, or Rutgers or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, not only is it going to be the biggest thing in the country, it's going to be internationally the biggest thing. How I knew that at 17 is beyond me. I had no idea what people in Japan or London or every other country you could think of. But as I got older and I traveled for my jobs,
Yeah.
I met people everywhere who are Notre Dame fans.
Yeah.
And one thing I like about Notre Dame is that people either hate them or they like them, but they have an opinion about them. I remember going off to training camp in Seattle, sitting down for breakfast or lunch before, or after practice, between practice, and a guy would be like, Notre Dame, you guys are afraid to play us. I'm like, who are you and where did you go to school? And he say his name and say Texas El Paso. I'm like, where the F is Texas El
Yeah.
Paso? I get it's in Texas, but who are you? And I would get this from so many players. A guy from Michigan wouldn't say it to you. It wouldn't, there was respect for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They may not like you for whatever reason, but they respected that you went to a real school where you
Yeah.
had to go to school and you played really good football.
Well,
But
the only reason they didn't like you is because you beat them.
well, we did. The first couple of years, we didn't beat many teams. Our last 2 years, and then after I was there, we won a lot of games, and I was very proud that I could be part of that team that brought Notre Dame back from almost the bottom to national prominence. And so yeah, so I always to this day I always say I love people have an opinion. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't mention Notre Dame and don't get an opinion,
No.
right? Look
No.
at college football playoffs, what just went on.
Yeah.
People screwed Notre Dame. Notre Dame got screwed. But they're not talking about BYU.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about these other schools. Like they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They really don't.
It's so
And
true.
I love it. So going out there, Jerry Faust was a high school coach that came from a private school that could recruit all the kids in the area and then say, play me. And then they would travel the country and play teams in Florida, maybe some teams in other places, Ohio, in Pennsylvania. Had a little bit of a national schedule. Had a lot of success. And he had very good assistant coaches at Notre Dame, really good assistant coaches. But when you're the head coach, you're the CEO of the company.
Yeah.
So if you don't make the decisions, because the assistant coaches, their job is to listen to you. And you better know enough to be able to manage your coaching staff, recruit the right kind of players. And a perfect example is if you went to play under Coach Faust and you were a tight end, you might be a fourth year, fifth year player still playing tight end, but you're fourth on the depth squad. Lou Holtz would come in and say, hey, Tom Byrne, you're going to be a hell of an outside linebacker. You're not going to play tight end anymore and move your outside linebacker. Take Andy Heck, a really good tight end, move him to left tackle his senior year. We win a national championship. He's one of the captains, 17th pick in the draft, played 13 years in the NFL. Take in Todd Light, wide receiver, coming in to replace Tim Brown. And oh, we got Rocket Ishmael. We'll play Rocket. Todd, you're going to cornerback, fourth pick in the draft as a cornerback. Pat Terrell, you're not catching the ball very well, son. Well, Barry Alvarez says, I'll take him on defense. He knocks down the pass, the 2-point conversion against Miami at 88
Yep.
to seal the game. He also has an interception for, I think, a 50, 60-yard touchdown return in that game. And is a second round draft pick and plays, 10, 11 years in the NFL. Jerry Faust didn't do that. He didn't
Right.
say, you're better suited here. He wasn't, because he didn't coach at the college level. By the time Lou got there, he coached under Woody Hayes, played at Kent State, coached under Woody Hayes, was the head coach at NC State, William Mary at NC State, Arkansas, Minnesota. He's seen everything.
Yeah.
And he came in Notre Dame with a game plan, and he knew how to hire assistant coaches, how to let them do their job, but also oversee them, offense, defense, special teams, how to get players, how to coach the players up to be successful. So my freshman year, there were days I contemplated. I'm sure there are a lot of guys who contemplated whether you were a senior or a freshman like myself, that maybe Notre Dame is not a place I want to stick around to. But there was no transfer portal back then. You
Right.
had to sit out a year. You also have a great school like Notre Dame you're attending. So you
Yeah.
got to find another great school. You got to sit out a year. Oh my God. Like leaving school was not easy back then.
No.
They pretty much owned you.
Yeah.
And nowadays, if we had transfer back then, I guarantee you at some point, 20 some kids a year would leave
Yeah.
for different reasons.
Yep.
But I actually remember, I won't tell a long story because, we're trying to get through this, but I had cleats. We had these cleats in our shoes that would twist in. The
Yep.
metal spike was coming through my shoe. So when I ran, I could feel the metal hub of the spike in my feet.
Yeah.
You can't run like that. I never had this experience in my life. So I go and I tell our trainer, and I like go talk to Gino. Gino Neal is 80 some years old, is in charge of the equipment room. Irish as they come, and he's a goddamn freshman. You can't make you freshmen happy. You're lucky you even have shoes. I'm like, okay, I got to get to practice. I can't run with these shoes on. So you got to go talk to Coach Faust. Okay, I got to go talk to Coach. So I walk way up the hallway to the coach's office. I'm waiting outside because they're in meetings. And as soon as Coach Faust comes out, he goes, hey, Ned, how you doing? I said, Coach Faust, I have an issue with my shoes. What's the problem? He's got a real,
Yeah. You
gruff
sound
voice.
just like him.
And he takes the shoes. I said, there's metal coming through the shoe. He's touched it. He's walking down the hallway. He said, when I played football at, where the hell he played? Akron. When I played football at Akron, we used to wear shoe boxes on our feet. When he said to me, we used to wear shoe boxes on our feet, I looked at a wall that had about 15 payphones on it, right in
Yeah.
the athletic convocation. There were 15 payphones there.
Yeah.
And the first thing I thought is, what is Penn State football office's phone number? Because
Yeah.
I'm walking over there and I'm going to get a number. I'm going to call and say, hey, Coach Sandusky, Coach Pater, whoever, Coach Williams, if you still want me,
I'm
I'm
coming.
coming.
Yeah.
Because my answer I just got was we used to wear shoe boxes, Ned. And eventually he took five more steps and said, follow me. So he goes down, he goes, hey, Gino, get this soft freshman a pair of shoes that work right, I guess. And
That's not what you want to hear.
needless to say, when Lou came in, thank God.
Was everybody afraid knowing he was, because he's a tough coach, man? Were they like, oh my God?
Who Coach Holtz?
Yeah.
Well, most people didn't know Coach Holtz. It's not like today where you have so much news and
Yeah.
ESPN and all these outlets. Like I knew about Coach Holtz only because my friend was playing at Arkansas and they were in the Orange Bowl playing against Oklahoma and Brian Bosworth was playing at the time. I'm back in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. It's the only game I didn't travel. My freshman year was the Miami Notre Dame game. They kicked the shit out of us down in Miami in 1985. I'm sitting at home Thanksgiving and they announced that Lou Holtz is the new head coach during the game. They announced Gene Corrigan, the athletic director, says, on TV, our new head coach will be Lou Holtz. I don't know who. There's no Google back then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my buddy sends me a text, a message. There's no cell phones. He called his parents, something like that, and they got hold of me at my house. He said, Ned, I hear he's a son of a bitch, man, because he coached at Arkansas right before he went to Minnesota.
Yeah.
He said, he's a son of a bitch, man. Good luck. And I was like, all right, like, I played for basketball coach Tom Fisher.
Yeah.
I never played for a tougher coach than him ever. And I played for Chuck Knox, Lou Holtz, Don Shula. I mean, Tom
Yeah.
Fisher was tougher. It ran you harder. It was more nasty and mean, but he made you win. And
Yeah.
he's a great guy, a great friend of mine, but he's as tough as they come. So I wasn't worried about somebody being tough. But the first meeting he comes in, we come back to school after getting blown out by Miami. I fly back and we have a meeting in this little auditorium, and there were a couple of older guys sat up front, and the freshmen sat in back. And one of the upperclassmen, he knows who he is. He's a good friend of mine to this day and a great player. And he had his feet up on this little dais. The dais might have been 2 feet high, and he has turf shoes on. And
Oh,
he's got jeans on. He's sitting there with his feet up. And Coach Faust comes in and says, goodbye to the team, and it's been a pleasure coaching you. He walks out the back, and some of the guys who spent 3, 4 years with a very inept program, they were great players. They
yeah.
had the potential to be really good teams, but you have to have a great leader to have a great team.
Yeah.
And some of these guys hissed a little bit and booed a little bit. And I'm a freshman. I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, like I'm seeing the old head coach that recruited me, but I didn't go there for Jerry Faust. I
Yeah.
went there for Notre Dame. So he goes out the back door. In comes this little guy up front here with his jacket on and stuff. He goes up on the stage. He kicks the guy whose feet is up on the stage, Chuck Lanza. Chuck Lanza, I love you, Chuck, and you
Yeah.
were a great player, great leader, but that was his feet were up there. He kicks Chuck's feet and says, "Son, how long have you been playing football?" Now, everybody, there's 100 some guys squeezed in this room, plus some of the old coaches and whoever's
Yep.
still there. And everybody's like, "Oh man!" Like he didn't say one word. He kicked the guy's foot and said, "How long you been playing football?" And Chuck says, about 13 years. He goes, "Well, your career's come to end in 3 seconds. If you're ashing against the back of that chair, son." He goes, "One," and you hear 100 guys sit up straight. Boom. And never again in the next 4 years I was there 5 years.
Yeah.
Did I ever see anybody slouch at a meeting? I saw one guy or two guys over those 4 years fall asleep during a meeting, and then they're nicely told by Coach Holtz, take your ass back to your dormitory and you sleep. We're going to go practice, and
Yeah.
I'll let you know when you're allowed back. And sometimes it's days before
Yeah.
that player is allowed back on the field. We're at a meeting. You want to sleep in my meetings? You go back to your dormitory, see how it feels.
Yeah.
So he had our attention. He told us quickly why he came to Notre Dame, what he loved about Notre Dame, what he thinks Notre Dame is, has been, and what it will be in the future. And he went on the board in 45 minutes. He went from today to 3 days or 4 days away when we started winter conditioning at 6 o'clock in the morning, all
Yeah.
the way through spring practice, summertime to national championship in 45 minutes. He said, I'll see you in 3 days at 6 o'clock in the morning. We walked out of that room, and part of you is scared to death because you're like,
Yeah.
there's a new freaking sheriff in town,
Yeah.
and this guy means business, and this is going to be rough. Like, this winter conditioning is going to separate men from children really fast.
Yeah.
And so you're a little nervous about that, but yet you're excited because you're like, wow,
Yeah.
you got a guy who just told you how you're going to go from this room to a national championship, and he has no doubt that he knows how to do it. And now you finally got a leader. And most men and women want to be led.
Yeah.
Just don't lead them off a cliff. And we're like, we believe this little guy, at least we think we do. We got no choice right now. And you felt excited. Well, I tell you what, 3 years later, and a lot of wonderful games and
Yeah.
close losses and some close victories, we end up being national champions. And then
Yeah.
next year, finishing number two in the country. And then many years in a row, Notre Dame had outstanding teams finishing number two or three in the
Yeah.
country and getting robbed in 1993 when Bobby Bowden, they were happy to give Bobby Bowden Florida State a national championship, even though they lost one game, but they beat the number one team. We had the same thing in 1989. We lost to Miami, but we beat the number one team, Colorado. We didn't finish number one.
No.
Florida State lost to Notre Dame. Notre Dame lost one game to Boston College.
Yep.
Beat the number one team at the time in the country in the bowl game. Notre Dame did. Florida State just didn't lose another game after getting beat by whoever it was during the season. Florida State ends up being national champion, even though Notre Dame beat them. That's 1993. So
Yeah.
once in a while, I'll see Coach Hill sign something. He'll write 1988 national championship, and they put and 93 got robbed or got screwed. Either way.
Yeah.
But Coach Holtz, no, Coach Holtz had the experience.
Yeah.
He had how to motivate, whether it was positive motivation or negative motivation or threatening to throw you off the team or a million different ways that this guy who's an unbelievable public speaker, unbelievable motivator, demotivator, whatever you want to call him, you got your ass moving in one direction, either front or you're gone.
Yeah.
And he brought in coaching staffs that changed a little bit, and some guys ended up. Barry Alvarez became the all-time winningest coach in the Hall of Fame at Wisconsin. You know, he was on the staff there, and other coaches went on to be head coaches and other teams around the around college football, including his son played for us, and Skip is
Yeah.
coaching in the USFL now, whatever it's called, the U
Yep.
League. And Skip had a lot of success in college coaching, but Lou was, I know how to win. I need some more speed here. I got good players here. So our national championship team was really a big part of Jerry Faust's players. If I
Yeah.
wasn't very player, got recruited by Jerry Faust, it would be a huge number. And then we got, Rocket Ishmael,
Yeah.
Tommy Rice, Derek Brown, Ricky Waters. I mean, I can go down unbelievable players who
Crazy.
came under Coach Holtz and his staff and Vinny Serrato, the recruiting coordinator, and we matched together over time like this. Our team
Yep.
was like this, off the field, on the field. When I got to Notre Dame, we were like this.
Yeah.
They weren't happy, disenchanted, different cliques, different, the leadership from the
Yeah.
top down was wrong. And Lou came in because his leadership was right. We got right because it was kind of us against the coaches some days. We're
Yeah.
going through those workouts. They weren't your friend. You were the guy that you were a little, not happy with, your teammate, or you weren't bonding with. You're holding each other up during winter conditioning. You're
Yeah.
leaning on that guy. That guy is leaning on you.
Yeah.
And you became like this really fast. And
Yeah.
then the next year we lost, we finished 5-6 and lost 6 games by a total of 19 points. Number one, Penn State beat us by, I think, 2 points. They won the national championship. That was 1986. I mean, 19 points. 6 games by 19 points. Did not go to bowl.
Crazy.
The next year we started off 7-1, and we ended up having a rough end of the season, and we lost to Texas A&M in the Cotton Bowl. We were just learning how to win. In '88, he never thought '88 was going to be the season. I mean, who thought this little Korean kicker who never kicked a football
Yeah.
in a game in his life in college, Reggie Ho comes out, five
Yeah.
foot six, 5'5", 120 pounds soaking wet, kicks I think 4 or 5 field goals. We beat Michigan by 1 point.
Yeah.
They were number 3 in the country. We weren't ranked, and we go on a tear, and we beat number 1 Miami by 1 point at home, and we blow out West Virginia in the national championship game and win the national championship. Coach Holtz tells me and told me many times, '89 was a better team. If I go through player for player, then the schedule we played was the number one schedule '89. That team was unbelievable. Both teams were
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But he, in his mind, said '89 is the team year. But we just happened to run into an unbelievable Miami team in Miami. Last game of the season. We're missing a couple players. They had a hell of a team. It helped them also when its humidity is 85%.
Yeah.
You're coming from South Bend, Indiana, and the week before you played at Penn State where it was snowing. So that definitely was in their favor, and they know it.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Johnson or Craig or Coach Erickson, they had
Yeah.
their team in tip-top shape. So we did get our asses kicked that day. Then we came back down a month later and kicked Colorado's ass in number one in the country. And we finished number two that year. So Jerry Faust, I love as a man, and thank God I was only there 1 year with him
Yeah.
because without Coach Holtz and that coaching staff and the players he brought in, I would never be a two-time captain of a national championship team and team that finished number two in the country. Never happened.
It's a hell of a story. Now, has any other player been named captain twice then?
Yes. Before me, I could write a book about Notre Dame, good and bad, but I never will because it would be controversial a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of guys, when you're on the inside, you see a lot of good, a lot
Yeah.
of bad.
Oh yeah.
I'm not talking like horrible, but
Yeah.
so I was told before the first time I was elected captain that there can't be two-time captains. Well, there was. Bob Crable was a two-time captain. Defense end Willie Fry, who passed away. Willie Fry was a two-time captain, played with Ross Browner when they beat Texas and Earl Campbell back in '79 or '70, I think '79. He was so there were a couple before me.
Yeah.
Well, I was saving it for my book. I won't get into it because it's a longer story and I really haven't publicly ever talked about this, so I won't do it on your show right
Okay.
now. Maybe I'll do it on my show someday,
All
Jeff.
right.
I'm not sure. But anyway, since I was a two-time captain, there's probably been, including Ryan Leahy, the grandson of Frank Leahy,
Hmm.
two-time captain. There's been probably 8 or 10 guys who've been two-time captains since.
Okay.
Previous to me, but I'm the only one who's alive who's a two-time captain that won a national championship. Willie Fry passed away in like 2008, 2009.
Right.
So I know that because when people tell you your value to them, like, I'm going to fly you out this far. I'll give you $500. Oh, you just gave this guy $3,000. Well, he was an Outland Trophy winner. Well, he's driving, 100 miles. I'm flying. It's on
Yeah.
holiday weekend. Why don't you look in the record books? How many two-time captains that won a national championship at Notre Dame are there alive that you can invite?
Yeah.
You got one guy.
Just you.
But I want to see Notre Dame always win a national championship.
Yeah.
Since the day I left to this day, like last year, I was cheering for them to beat Ohio State. I want them to win. I
Yeah.
grew up a Notre Dame fan. I know one or two guys, and I don't blame them, that don't ever see that played and very successful, that don't want to see Notre Dame win a national championship because they want to be known as the last this
Yeah.
guy of
Yeah.
the national championship team. And I won't mention names because I'm trying to protect the innocent. But there are
So
guys who don't want. But me, I've always wanted them to win.
yeah, to win.
Yeah.
So Ned, I mean, geez, we could talk about Notre Dame football for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah,
How,
it's
how do
crazy.
you put one finger on any most memorable moment? Can you do that?
Uh,
That's got to be hard as
nah,
hell.
you can't because you can say national championship game, but I think for a team, I'll say national championship because
Okay.
for the team, the coaching staff, and all the fans, the alumni, the Subway alumni,
Yeah.
people who don't even know what state that Notre Dame's in. I've met fans who told me they were the biggest Notre Dame fans in the world, and they never been to South Bend. They never been to Notre Dame campus. And I'm like, I've said this. You should come to the game sometime. Well, I've never been to California before. I said it's in Indiana. I'm not joking, Jeff. I've
Yeah.
probably met at least five people in my life
Yeah.
who are not kids, 40, 50, 60-year-old people who are Notre Dame fans, diehard fans, never miss watching a game. And they said, I get out to Oregon sometime. I'm like, why you go to Oregon? Well, that's where Notre Dame is. No, it's in South Bend, Indiana. I swear, I'm not joking. I
Yeah.
swear to God. There's people out there that have no idea, but that's how diehard these people are. And they don't care where it's at. They just follow the university, but really the football team.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
attracts them. That's what attracted so many people when it was only on the radio in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And they talk about Notre Dame in a conference. Michigan and Yost, who was like the main guy, I think it's called Yost Stadium, Michigan Stadium. They would not allow Notre Dame into what's considered a Big Ten. It was a Catholic university. No conference would allow Notre Dame in to play with them. So Newt Rockne said, "I'll get on a train and take my team all the way to California and play them." Then I'll get on a train and go to Giant Stadium and play Army and Navy, when they were unbelievable teams
Yeah.
during the war eras. Notre Dame is not in a conference. They're independent, not because we chose to. We were forced to. And
Nobody
people
wanted to play
talk
him.
about that.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted a Catholic team playing in their conference back in the 40s and 50s. They didn't. It's a fact. You can look it up. And so you hear these people on TV, oh, Notre Dame thinks they're too good. They got the TV contract. Bullshit. Your
Yeah.
school years ago would not let us play in your conference.
Now, what about now? Do they want to be in a conference
No,
or no?
no, because it's a national school. So my freshman year, I lived in a dormitory, and if I went and say there was 50 other classmates, Notre Dame guys, uh, I would say 35 states were represented,
Yeah.
from Hawaii to Florida to Pennsylvania to Oregon. I mean, on one floor, one floor.
Yeah.
Now take 9,000 students, now it's 11, 12,000. Plus you go around campus, every state in the country is represented.
Yeah.
Most of the major countries in the world are represented there, either as undergrad, grad school, law student.
Yeah.
It's a national school, and we've always played a national schedule. And you like when you live in Texas that we go down to play at the Alamo Bowl, or we play, University of Texas down there, or if you live in Seattle, you're glad we come up to Washington and play the Huskies, or California, or you're down to in Florida, you're going to New Jersey to play Navy or whoever,
Yeah.
Boston College, like people around the whole country. When you go to Ohio State, which I love, all these schools I love, they get 300, 400,000 fans tailgating out Ohio State. First of all, it's a big school.
Yeah.
It's a big college town. People only have to drive an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to get there.
Yeah.
When you're in South Bend in the middle of nowhere, the whole town of South Bend's not showing up. They might be there, but you don't get 100 people in, 70,000 in the stand, 78,000, 150,000 tailgating outside, maybe a little bit more, maybe 150 only, because they're flying in and driving from
Yeah.
all over the country. When Ned Bolcar goes to see his alma mater play, I got to drive 12 hours, or I got to fly from Newark to Chicago, rent a car, drive an hour and a half to South Bend, go back, get home. It takes 2, 3 days to do this trip if
Yeah.
you really want to do it right. If I play at Penn State, I would get in my car right now. I could be up at Penn State
Four
at,
hours.
what time is it? I'll be
You'll be
there
there by
at
10
10 o'clock.
o'clock. Yeah.
10 o'clock, I'll be there.
Yeah.
It's 6:15.
Yeah.
So when my parents would be driving past State College, my dad would be like, 8 more hours to go. So you think about, and they hardly ever missed a game, Jeff. My
Yeah.
parents
Yeah.
hardly
That's
ever.
great.
One game, my dad was in the hospital with open heart surgery. Only game he ever missed. And they drove a lot, and they loved every second of it, and I loved every second of it. But Notre Dame is a national school. If
Yeah.
you only play in the Big Ten, now, yeah, you got USC, a couple teams in there, right? These conferences are
Yeah.
super conferences. Will they ever? I don't know. That's way above my pay grade. I
Yeah.
don't make those decisions. But I know to a man, whether it's alumni or student athlete, we want them to stay independent.
Yeah.
I want to see them travel the country and play everywhere. And we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
I mean, everything's changing. You never know, right?
College football is not college football. It's a huge business. College sports is becoming a huge business. And
I think, college football in, the power of fours now and the all these schools, it's more attractive than the NFL.
uh, I enjoy college football, especially when if you don't win every game or you lose one game, you may not compete for a national championship
Yeah.
and you were going to the bowl games. So I love the fact that every game matters so much. It
Right.
still does. But now with 12 teams in it, you got a little bit of leeway to lose a game here,
Yeah.
get blown out in your conference championship. Hi, Alabama. Yes, you got blown out, Alabama, and you got blown out by Florida State, and you shouldn't have been in there. So, now there's a little bit less of that, but yet it's still attractive to see more teams competing where the bowl games actually mean something.
Yeah.
And unless you're in a championship playoff bracket, why even watch the game? Like, I don't even turn bowl game on because
Yeah.
it's not the team that finished the season.
Right.
BYU played their night and beat who the hell they beat? Georgia Tech. I guarantee you there's between the two teams, there's 20 guys or 15 missing that start.
Yeah.
That's not the team. That's why
No.
Notre Dame didn't want to play because A, they were pissed off, but
Yeah.
B, really, the team that's going to show up for this bowl game, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, nothing
Yeah.
against that. The name of it, they pay a lot of money for that name. And it's like, I love Pop-Tarts, but Jeremiah Love's not playing. Jadarian Price isn't playing.
Yeah.
Stroth, they would have 10 guys not playing because they're all
Yeah.
going to NFL.
Right.
And we saw what Jalen Smith did years ago, blew his knee out, went from a top 10 pick to second round and played a couple
Yeah.
many years in the NFL. But these guys aren't showing up for these bowl
No.
games.
No. There's too much money now. It's crazy.
And it was built this way. That's why they
Yeah.
built the playoffs like this. They want teams to be still while people watching the game, players still playing late in the season. So two things there. NIL, the college kids are getting paid money. Some a little bit. They're all getting paid something.
Yeah.
Some a lot. They probably
Yeah.
make more money in college than they do in the NFL.
Yep.
That's why you see some guys come back. Their rookie contract will be less than what they're making in the NFL. I mean, the rookie contract is less than what they make in college,
In
their
college.
fifth
Yeah.
year, fourth year, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So all this is college football wanting people to keep watching the game late into the year, keep these guys who might go off to NFL early in college
Yeah.
playing. So why? These conferences can make their money
Big money.
in bowl games and TV rights. And what does Notre Dame not give the ACC in a bowl game? They don't give them any of the money from the bowl game. The ACC gets more people watching games. Miami played another ACC team towards the end of the season at Miami. There were 45,000 fans in the stadium. And another team was good. And Miami's in line to possibly make the college playoffs, which they
Yeah.
did, have a great team. When Notre Dame goes out playing, there's 80,000 people.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go, there's 80,000,
They
100,000
travel. Yeah.
people. So when the AD Pete Vacqua says, we're your best business partner, he didn't say we're your best football partner or sports partner. We're the ACC's best business partner
Yeah.
because people tune in to watch us win or get our asses kicked. Either way, they
Yeah.
want to see
They're
some
tuning in.
people show up.
Yeah.
So the issue I had with that whole college playoffs is that the way they set it up was they wanted Alabama in. They didn't
Yeah.
think Alabama was going to get there and smoked like they did against
Georgia,
against
right?
who?
Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah.
They didn't expect that to happen. They beat them earlier in the season. They get smoked. What do we do now? Well, they just lined up perfectly that, oh, Notre Dame was pushed back to 10 without playing a game the week before. Miami's right behind BYU. BYU gets knocked off. Oh, this is easier now. ACC head to head. Miami beat Notre Dame. Okay, I'll give you that because Miami did. If I was choosing, I would take Miami also. What I don't like, what Notre Dame doesn't like, what Pete Bavacqua and the powers that be don't like is Alabama should never been in that position in the first place to be where they were, especially after losing.
Yeah.
The only conference championship loser that didn't move down at least one spot was Alabama. But the ACC working against their Notre Dame, who's in the ACC, I understand working for Miami,
Yeah.
Why are you going to work against your best business partner the last few days of the season, showing the replay of the Miami Notre Dame game 14 times on news stations everywhere? Every you turn to ESPN, you couldn't hear more people talk about Miami, Miami, Miami should be in. Like, you talk about they knew where they're getting paid. They're getting paid by ESPN, ACC is
Oh yeah.
the ACC conference.
Yep.
And it was so obvious. It's like, why did I think you shot the guy? Because you're standing there with a gun that's smoking. That's why.
Yeah. No.
It lined up perfectly. Like you can't make this shit up.
Yeah,
So
but well, like you said before, when Notre Dame's involved in all these types of moving parts, everybody listens.
they have opinion.
Yeah.
Either screw Notre Dame, they
Yeah.
don't matter,
Yeah.
or they got screwed, they matter.
Yep.
It's never like, oh, who cares? Like I
Yeah.
said, I like BYU. I watched Jim McMahon and Ty Detmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Ty Detmer's Air Force. Sorry, that's a different guy. But all these great
No,
quarterbacks.
Ty Detman was BYU.
Oh, was he Ty Detmer?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Ty Detmer. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay. So, I mean, I like watching them play. I like watching
Yeah.
them play this year. They got a nice team. But have
Yeah.
you heard anybody bitching and moaning about BYU?
No.
Maybe one or two, a few people. Not like this. Not like the whole
No.
Notre Dame stuff. Like
No.
this. So anyway, it's
It's always at the top of everybody's conversation when it comes to, college football and Notre Dame. It's just the brand.
yeah,
It's just always there,
yeah.
which is a great thing.
Well, I've seen many arguments in the locker room among players. It could be a Ohio State, Michigan guy,
Yeah.
could be a UC, USC, UCLA guy
Yeah.
like that, but it's never Notre Dame, Penn State, really. It's not Notre Dame, USC. Like, we all respect each other. It's often that one, like I said, like, where did you go to school?
Yeah.
And who, like, why are you even bringing this up? Like, I didn't
Yeah.
ask you, I didn't say anything to you, but you somehow wanted to,
Yeah.
tell
They
me
want a
that
piece of you.
we're
They want a
free to
piece
play
of you.
you. I never heard of your goddamn school
Yeah.
before. I mean, honestly,
Yeah. Yeah.
but if somebody said he's from where, I'd be, oh, good.
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
idea where that school is,
Yeah.
but good for
So,
him.
so how was the transition to the NFL then? I mean, you had a hell of a career, Notre Dame. It couldn't have ended any better. You know, now you go to the NFL, it's a different world, different brand. Now you're with the best of the best of the best.
Yeah. Uh, the pro football, I loved it because that's all you did. That was your job.
You didn't have to go to
And
class.
if you're good enough to play, you're on the team and you're getting paid. And you're still playing football with great people, great fan bases wherever you play. Uh, if you're not good enough and you can't stay healthy, it happens to everybody, whether it's 1 year, 4 years, 25 years, they show you the door and that's it. There's no 100 guys on the roster, 85 scholarships, and coaches can play games with you.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you play a game, they transfer out.
Yeah.
That kind of solved that a little bit.
Yeah.
But when I was playing, like they could screw around with guys pretty easily, and believe me, that's part of motivation. Using that to coach's advantage.
Yeah.
Like if you got two really equal players, you can play them against each other mentally. The coach can and drives you. Nowadays, you're like, yeah, you're right. Maybe I'm not as good as him. I'm going someplace else to play. I mean,
Yeah.
it's different. So in the NFL, I love the fact that it's a job, and I remember over many years of my life hearing people say, just common people, just high school players who didn't play beyond. They don't try hard in the NFL. They don't play that hard. I'm like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
My first day of minicamp,
Those guys are like lunatics.
we just wore helmets, and it was more physical than some of our full pad practices at Notre
Yeah.
Dame. But we had unbelievable teams in 1989. I'll just go back. Every single player that played on that day in that field, offense, defense, freshman, sophomore, senior, 11 on this side, Miami, Notre Dame, switch around, offense, defense. All 22 players plus special teams players all went to NFL camp. Most of them played 1+ years in the NFL. When do you ever get a game when every single guy on that field that day went to NFL camp? You
Like
very
never.
seldom do. That's how much talent is in the field. So then you go to the NFL and you go to the first day of minicamp, and you're like, this is about as physical as some of these practices were in Notre Dame full pads. Maybe not the games, maybe it wasn't, but then when you strap it on, I mean, you're not doing the same thing you did in college. You don't hit as much. Nowadays, these guys in the NFL don't put pads on I made the offensive linemen do like for a couple minutes, just a couple drills. After like not when I played, we wore pads more often, but nowadays they get through 2 weeks of the season, they don't put pads on.
Yeah.
Like playing high school football and college, this is like a walk in the park when it comes to the physicality, because you're tackling dummies all day. You're not tackling human beings,
Yeah.
rarely ever hitting live. You're never going to the ground. I mean, I remember our worst week of practice in college was getting ready for Air Force Academy that ran the triple wing or the
Option. Yeah.
wishbone, and we went against the first team offense. Tim Grunhard, 6'3", 285. Andy Heck, 6'7", 295. Dean Brown, 6'4", 285. I'm talking about offensive linemen, quick guys. Then you got Tony Rice running quarterback, Anthony Johnson at fullback, or Braxton Banks, Ricky Waters, or Rocket Ishmael, or Mark Green, or somebody, Dorsey Levens at tailback. Keep going down the list. Derek Brown at tight end, 6'7". Trent Jenkins, 6'5". So they're running live Air Force's offense against you on defense because they're trying to get us ready to
Yeah.
stop Air Force. Now, we can't run as well as they do. They're very disciplined. They're very good at what they do. They do it all the time. But son of a bitch, they're much bigger guys we're playing against. And that 1 or 2 days we go live against our first team were easily the most miserable days of my life ever practicing football.
Yeah.
Because you're getting chopped by this guy and this guy, and this guy's trying to crack down on you. And then
Yeah.
Tony Rice either pitches it or doesn't. And then
Yeah.
to stop the triple option, you got to tackle the fullback, tackle the quarterback, tackle the pitch man.
And the rules were different too on
Well,
blocking
you
and
can
everything
you can
back
chop
then.
people's knees out, and they
Yeah.
would do it in practice. Like
Yeah.
you had to have your hands as a linebacker, a couple inches off the ground because,
Yeah.
like I said, we weren't as good at running their offense, but also that guard for Air Force that weekend weighs 250 pounds, 260. Yeah, he's quick, but Dean Brown's just as quick. Tim Grunhardt's just as quick, plays in the NFL 13 years, but he
Yeah.
weighs 295 pounds. He can't hit you as low, but son of a bitch, he hits you lower than he ever did before
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's the offense that you had to go against, and they were
Yeah.
trying to get us ready on defense. And Lou Holtz did. Jerry Faust lost to Air Force 4 or 5 years in a row, beat USC 5 years. Lou came in, never lost to the academy till the last year he coached. When he was done, they lost to Air Force that year, and he came in at one of the first meetings we had. He said, "We respect the academies. Look at the schedule we play. Guadalcanal, Midway, Omaha Beach. Look at that schedule.
Yeah.
How do we compete with that? We respect the academies. We respect
Yeah.
what they do, but they are not as talented as you are. They're not as good football players as you are. There's a reason that you're at USC or Notre Dame because you chose to go this path because you have the athletic ability. You think the aspiration of NFL. They want to go and defend our country, and we respect
Yep.
that. So we never lost to them because Lou, once again, was an experienced coach and knew how to prepare for the
Yeah.
wishbone and
Got
knew
you
you had to
ready.
practice in the springtime. You had to practice early in camp in the summertime. You had practice obviously during the season. Throw a few wishbone plays during a week of practice. Maybe you had a week off. Maybe you spent some time on that. But by the time you go play them, whether it's Air Force where you can't barely breathe out there because it's 10,000 feet high, or in South Bend, we knew how to stop them because we worked at it. It wasn't
Yeah.
magic.
So NFL 3 years, 4 years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what was that transition like out of that? Coming out of the NFL, now you got to get a job.
Yeah,
You go to
that,
Wall
that that
Street.
that's tough for everybody.
Yeah.
I love my time in the NFL. I love my year in Seattle, even though I was injured half the year. My 2 years, 3 years living in Florida. I was friends with so many guys in Seattle, but friends with Jeff Yolnick, the starting center, Pete Stoyanovich, the kicker. The list goes on. Chuck Klingbeil, Burt Widener. But I was friends with Dan Marino. I was friends with Mark Clayton, Mark
Yeah.
Duper. I mean, we used to hang out together, whether you were 32 years old or 23 or 22 or whatever you were
Yeah.
at the time. I loved playing with great athletes. I love being around them as human beings. I love living in Florida. I liked Seattle when I was there, but I love living in Florida. I mean, it was a great experience. I remember we lost the last game of the season to the Jets. And I walked out, I had my hat and flip-flops and shorts on, going to the tailgate party. I said, wow, what am I going to do now? Season's over. It's just after Christmas. Shit, I got money in the bank. I'm 25 years old.
Yeah.
I live in Florida. I can do whatever the hell I want to. I
Yeah.
work out. I go down the Keys. I go fishing.
Yeah.
chase girls. I mean,
Yep.
it's pretty goddamn good life. So you go from that to now you're 27. What are you gonna do for a living? Oh man, I'm not sure. I want to make money. I got some guys who went that way, who play football, who played in the NFL. Some guys didn't. I think I have students. They went to a place called Wall Street. I don't know much about Wall Street. It's close to New Jersey. That's where I'm from. That's cool. I'll be close to my parents. They're getting older. Let me see if I can find a job in New York. Well, as they say, some people come in the front door, MBA from Harvard, you know, Penn, Ivy
Yep.
League school. Some people come in the side doors. I kind of parachuted through the ceiling. Yes, I went to Notre Dame, but now I'm 27 years
Did
old.
that help though, then
Oh
having
yeah,
that
because
background?
Notre Dame's a conversation.
Okay.
Then you were a captain at Notre Dame and you won a national championship. So it's a conversation. So
Yeah.
like any job you get in life,
Yeah.
you have to get the opportunity to get in front of somebody.
Yeah.
Then they have to want to offer you opportunity to see if you can succeed. They're making an investment in you. So then once you get a job, you better perform. Because I don't care if, and I've seen it, Harvard Business School, they can't do the job. I mean, the sad thing about Wall Street, even back then and now, is the vetting process became so much more because if you're a manager and you're hiring somebody, if you go to Notre Dame, you've been vetted by Notre Dame, then you went to grad school at name any grad school, but Wharton Business School. You've
Yeah.
been vetted there. So they hire you as a salesperson, investment banker, trader, whatever it may be, and you don't do your job well, that manager is not getting fired because you've been vetted 3 times already by
Yeah.
the best institutions in the country.
Yep.
It just happens. Now, what used to happen before I got to Wall Street, probably a few years before, I worked with guys, they went to the school of hard knocks. They didn't even go to college. They went to
Yeah.
SUNY. They went to where the hell they went to school.
Yep.
But they knew somebody who worked on the floor of stock exchange. They knew somebody who worked at Merrill Lynch or all these other firms back then that no longer exist, Rothschild. So they would hire their cousin, their buddy, their friend, and they would come in and they would be eventually the number one guy on the desk, the top trader, top salesperson, CEO of the company eventually. Well, guess what? I could see it happening when I went through the process. Like, you know, there weren't many of those guys going through because if you hire somebody not vetted like these other people were and they fail, that guy who hired you, that woman who hired you, her job's at stake now.
Yeah.
Because how did they hire this goofball? Like he went to, whatever school.
Yeah.
And what made you think he'd be successful? Oh, yeah, it was a great interview, and he came off really well, and I thought he would fit in perfectly. No, then you hire him. He's not a team player. He's not good with numbers. He's not good with people. He just, it was a good interview. Ah, now the person went to all these other schools. It was a good interview. Well, we get it because how did they make it through all these steps? So what I found out when I was going through the process of informational interviews, 'cause I knew I wasn't going to get in the MBA program of interviews. Like I did not come from MBA at these schools. I wasn't doing a summer internship. I would go and make a connection. And I'll tell you, it was Penn State guys and Columbia University guys were the best. And Notre Dame, there were one or two. They were good. They were the best with connecting me. Notre Dame did not have a big presence on Wall Street at the time. These other schools did,
Yeah.
and the Ivy Leagues obviously did. But I was make somebody make a phone call. I make a phone call, say, hey. So and so, I'd like to come in and just talk to you for 20 minutes. Jeff, tell me what you do for a living. How did you get here? Tell me about your history. And most people want to talk about themselves,
Yep.
and then 90% of them are decent enough to give you 20 minutes. So if you can get 20 minutes, and I go and I sit down at a Goldman Sachs or First Boston or wherever, and Jeff Durr is a sales trader there, and your buddy over at UBS say, hey, I got this nice guy here, Ned Bolcar or whoever it may be. Here's why you should talk to him. He's a good dude. He's trying to learn about the business.
Yeah.
You being the guy you are says, come on by. I sit down and you explain to me what you do in your role, and then you say that's the analyst back there, and that's the block trading desk up there. That's fixed income, and here's what I've been. Well, here's what I used to do. I used to be a retail broker at Susquehanna, wherever it may be, and
Yep.
then eventually I got a job doing this, and then I was a trader. Oh, that went to, like you would give me the time to do it, and that's what I found. And
Yep.
I found a lot of people who were interested enough to meet me interest. I got enough interest from them in our conversation that they shared a lot. And
Yep.
then they were eagerly introducing me to other people, other firms. And I never once asked for a job. I never said I want a job. I said I want to be in this business. I know nothing about this business. Equities, fixed income, I get the difference there. But I didn't know. I used to think Wall Street is this. It's the
Yep.
financial world is this big.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like you're in a medical field. I want to be a doctor. A doctor is
Yeah.
that big.
There's so many moving
I
parts.
want to sell insurance. It's that big. I
Yeah.
mean, as you get older and get some experience, so I'm 27 years old, zero experience in this. I've made some money. I got some investments. I don't know shit about this, but I'm like, I want a job with A-type personalities where my efforts turns into money in my pocket. I want to be around driven people, and that's what Wall Street was. It was competitive, and the cursing and the swearing was worse than in a locker room. I mean, it was unbelievable. The stuff I heard and saw that went on was they write movies about it. They
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
movies about this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, I won't say like none of these firms are Wolf of Wall Street. That was
Right.
a little bit extreme, but I saw some crazy stuff. I heard things said that you can't say in most jobs.
Yeah.
I heard women say things to men in front of 400 other people that make men blush.
Yeah.
It was just normal part of every day.
Yeah.
And what happened was as you do, you get a job and you maybe bounce to a better job and another opportunity, and then maybe you stay a long time. But I went there to make money and be challenged, and I was. And it took a couple of years to feel comfortable. And it was nonstop pressure every day because you
Yeah.
eat on the
Got to
desk, you eat
perform.
lunch, you got to use the bathroom, and you're in the middle of a couple trades or something comes in, you better have somebody get your back, and you better learn to pee or do number two very quickly and
Yeah.
get back on your desk because you make money between 9:30, well, whatever. We start making calls in the morning. Market opens at 9:30, closes at 4. There's an aftermarket going on. That's when you make your money. If you're not there to pick your phone up, they will call somebody else
Yeah.
and they're going to call something. You may never get that trade back again. So it was the one of the most stressful things I ever did. But playing sports prepared me to be a team player on these desks, the
Yeah.
trading desks, the sales trading desks, to
Yeah.
know how to work with people. I was able to communicate with my clients well, especially as I knew the business, grew in the business, and the people around me. I was a good teammate to them. I didn't have an ego. I never treated anybody like an asshole. I mean, I saw people do that, and even when I went to Notre Dame, I had a few bad run-ins with a couple older guys who really weren't good leaders, and that was really sad. And then I was around some guys who were incredible leaders. I
Yeah.
mean, they only had so many captains, but everybody on our team was a captain. They were great leaders. So I worked with some impressive people. And the great thing about Wall Street and most jobs, you don't have to be 6'2", 240
No.
pounds and run a 4'6" or 4'7". You don't have to be 6'7", and you don't have to hit somebody. But the sad part about a job like that is you're not allowed to hit anybody without getting in trouble. So
Yeah.
there's days I think, man, I love to son of a bitch line up across my bell, hit him
Yeah.
or her. I
Yeah.
mean, I really would. But
Yeah.
yet that little son of a bitch or big or whoever it is, they command because they're so good at what they do, and you got to
Yeah.
respect that. But if they want to treat you like shit or act a certain way, there's very few ways to get back at somebody in life. Like
Yeah.
really is like legally to do it. Or
Well,
football.
it's just you just have massive success. That's all.
Well, yeah, and that's it, and that's what would drive me and drive other people to work your ass
Yeah.
off because you had to compete.
Yeah.
So it was as competitive in some ways as
Yeah.
playing college and football and NFL. Very competitive, and and I always say this when I went through the recruiting process on Wall Street trying to find a job. I saw the Ivy League kids come in. I saw the business school. You know who went to the head of the line all the time, and they should? People from the military, whether they're from Annapolis, West Point, Air Force,
Yeah.
or they served in the military without going to these academies.
Yeah.
They came out as veterans because you know what? The people hiring them know they've been vetted. You
Yeah.
led men, women in battle.
Right.
You're a team player. You know what hard work is, your sacrifice, and you're intelligent. They can figure that out pretty quickly
Yeah.
in an hour conversation. And you probably wouldn't be standing there. Very few people going to the queue is a million people deep to get some of these jobs.
Yeah.
Well, when I was mentally going through that line, I saw them go up and I would say, yep, they should
Yeah.
be up front. And I
Yeah.
worked with some very impressive people who were in the military and had unbelievable success
Yeah.
in that kind of business, in most businesses, Like
Yeah.
they were prepped for it. But playing sports definitely gives you the ability to have success if you understand when you're growing up that sports is supposed to teach you about life.
Yeah.
When you get knocked down, you get back up again.
Yep.
But the problem is the transition for a lot of guys who are really successful, college or say the NFL or basketball, whatever it may be, when you're really successful, so many people value your personal value by what you did as an
Yeah.
athlete.
Yep.
And that's all they do. And then sometimes, I'm not saying I did, there's moments you do, but I know a lot of people, their whole identity becomes who they were as an
Yep.
athlete. Even if they're
Yep.
good students, even if they're good people, all that
Yep.
stuff. A lot of people, it's hard to shake that off and start over again.
Yeah.
And whether you're 27, 21, 18,
Yeah.
42, and you got to start over again,
It's hard.
you may have some good things that are with you. Like I joke, a buddy of mine who's still a friend was one of my clients, and he was also ex-broker, but one of my clients. I used to say, he said, Ned, when you die someday, it's going to say on your tombstone, it's going to say two-time captain Notre Dame national champion. I said, no, I hope it says good man,
Yeah.
good husband, good father, good man. That's
Yeah.
what I wanted to say. Because bullshit, Ned. It's going to say this because he played
Maybe it says
football.
both. Maybe it says both.
He played football at Bucknell, was so excited about football like that. He wanted to be
Yeah.
me. He wanted to be somebody who competed, and he did at Bucknell.
Yeah.
But he saw it like I didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's part of me. That's
Yeah.
helped make me who I am, the good and tough times. I
Yeah.
got interviewed at First Boston, and I remember one of the questions, Ned, I look at your resume, I see success, success, success. Do you know what it's like to fail? And I have stories. I said, yeah, let me tell you a few stories. And they're
Yeah.
real stories and they're rough stories.
Yeah.
And some were young and some were in college. And where I, as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 15, I had to make decisions and had to
Yeah.
deal with things that a lot of adults don't deal with.
Right.
Being in certain positions,
Yeah.
especially in the public eye, that they didn't have to deal with, that I know I did. And when I told those stories, it was within minutes I got that job. But if I would have said you're right, I never had, adversity.
Yeah.
All athletes have adversity. All
That
people
they live with.
do.
That's all sports is, you know?
It's failure, success, failure. The
Yeah.
thing about sports is versus real life is every day you play a game every day.
Yeah.
Every day you're getting up, knocked down, up, down.
Yeah.
There's no Friday night game underneath the lights. There's no Saturday on
Yeah.
NBC or ESPN game day. There's no three games that week. Like every day is a game.
Yeah.
Every single day. Like you got this morning, you've been playing. Everybody listening today, you get up in the morning, you're getting knocked down, getting back up
All day.
out the day with your
Yeah.
children, with work, with friends. That's life. That is.
Yeah.
And so the way athletes prepare, and then especially for a game, you prepare it and you slowly amp up your intensity, you amp up your focus, you amp up your emotions, and then you explode like a rocket. Like you're
Yeah.
ready at game time, you take off. And that's where
Yeah.
the emotional high comes from. That's when you
Yep.
laser focus mentally. That's when your physicality comes out. And then when it's over, it's like win or lose, and it feels better when you win.
Yeah.
It's a relief when you win. You
Yep.
lose, that hangs with you forever. If you felt as bad in life as you do when you lose a sporting contest, game or match or whatever, you wouldn't make it till tomorrow.
No.
You and I would not be on the show today because the first time you fail in life, it keeps going. Like we would
Yeah.
just be like, it's crushing. Oh fuck, nobody cares about
Yeah.
that. Get up and keep
Life, I say life doesn't wait for you, you know?
nothing waits for you.
No.
Life does not wait for it, and they replace you quickly.
Oh yeah.
I've been on the football field, and but I'll say football field. Guy breaks his leg. Serious Notre Dame snapped his leg in half. Coach is like, "Come on, get up!" and literally run away. I seen players throw up. This kid's
Yeah.
leg was snapped in half on the
Yeah.
turf inside
Yep.
facility. It was just built. We're getting ready for a bowl game, and
Yeah.
freshman, and they ran away, and within 10 seconds, Coach Hall says, "All right, move it down 15." Everybody
Yeah.
went down
It's
15.
just next man
I
up.
never saw the kid again until I saw him walk across campus one day, like in the springtime. I said, "How you doing?" Because he didn't come to practice
Yeah.
anymore. He had a destroyed leg. He ended up transferring out of school, and he tells a story. I love this. It's funny. He said, "Ned, here's how I describe my experience in Notre Dame. I'm on crutches. I got a reconstructed leg. I snapped and I said, "Oh, I know. I saw it." I'm on crutches. It's healing up and it's snowing and it's wet out. And I'm going into Hager Hall for a test or a class. And kids are going in the door. And I'm one of the last ones. I slip. I fall down and I thought I re-broke my leg. I'm laying
Oh,
soaking wet in a puddle. And this girl looks down at me and goes, "Oh my God, are you okay?" He goes, "No, I think I re-broke my leg." She goes, "I'm gonna be late for class," and went into the building. He goes, "I'm
oh my
laying there in
God.
a puddle with a broken leg." And he says, "I tell my friends, that's my experience in Notre Dame." So he actually transferred someplace else. I don't think he can play football after that, but I laughed so hard because the girl's like, "I gotta get to class."
I get the class. Oh my God.
Dave Rosenberg, that was his name. The Jewish kid playing linebacker in Notre Dame. Dave Rosenberg.
So Ned, you 18 years on Wall Street, then you become an entrepreneur and you're building businesses. And tell me about that. I know I've kept you on here for a long time, but your stories are just, I could keep talking to you for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I want to
there's a
hear the
lot.
whole thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, the entrepreneurial side, how that's going and where you're at now and what you're doing.
So, like I said, Wall Street, the business I did, sales and trading, because of electronic trading algorithms, the opportunities to make the kind of money we're making was shrinking and shrinking. There's still guys who are very successful.
Yep.
But sitting behind a desk day after day, in my last 8 years in the business, I was a commission salesman, sales trader. So my salary read zero. So whatever I ate, I killed. So you don't take many vacation days because your $5,000 vacation becomes a $50,000
Yeah.
vacation if you take off. And I was told that by many guys like, "Hey, Ned, that your client's not going to give your backup the same trades they're going to give you."
Yeah.
So that vacation you're taking, and very few of us took vacation days when you're a commission guy. But you got paid very well for doing the business. And your customers knew you did. They knew
Yeah.
exactly, a couple of shops I worked at, they knew exactly what you're making to the percentage, which I love because we were challenged and it was good. So when I decided I can't keep doing this because my clients are getting let go, the traders at, Turner Investments, Delaware Investment, like they were disappearing at places because their job was becoming more electronic, to the point
Yeah.
where, put it in VWAP, volume weighted average over the course of the day. Well, there's no challenge to that. Like there's no putting together a stock that trades 200, 300,000 shares a day. And by the end of the day, you get multiple clients together and you guys are trading 10 million shares right between the market. That's exciting. There was no more of that. It's not happening. So I got used to working at Jeffries and firms that did a lot of that, and I loved it. But once the human element and you could make a difference came out of it, I said I had enough. I can't keep going to work and feeling like I can't adequately represent my clients. They can't even represent themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys are out of jobs. I decided to leave the business just because I couldn't do it anymore emotionally, physically behind a desk every day, and the strain of not performing, or because you can't beat an electronic system. You
Yeah.
can't beat the algo hunters that were being built out there, and a stock trades and it rips the stock up a half a buck or down a half a buck. And either way, you look like an idiot. Your clients look like an idiot. And at some point, I just said, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
I just, mentally, physically, the game changed and I wasn't changing with it and I didn't really want to change with it. I didn't want to change with it because it was not a fun,
Yeah.
it wasn't as exciting, it wasn't as rewarding. Now I'm talking about
Yeah.
not financially rewarding, but rewarding as a career.
Yeah.
So when I left, I was still single and I was thinking I'll move from New Jersey someplace else. And a buddy of mine who still works on Wall Street, he mentioned Orange Theory Fitness and his cousin down in Florida lived right next to the headquarters down in Fort Lauderdale. And he was very entrepreneurial himself. He owned a couple of retail places down there, he and his wife. And long story short, he got me interested in this franchise that was started in Florida in 2008. And this is around 2012, 2013 that my brother and I started looking at it. And my brother had a job. still working, and I was kind of on the beach trying to figure things out. Just got married, had a kid, two kids by this time, 2013, and I said, "Wow, here's a great franchise, a great workout. I mean, it's a great workout program. I hadn't worked out in years. The first day I went to do it, there's a place up in Edgewater, New Jersey. That was the first one open in New Jersey. And I thought I was still in shape. But meantime, I gained, 90 pounds since my playing days. I was up
Yep.
to like 340. Now I look not bad now. I'm back 305 now, but and I don't go as much as I should. I barely go. But I went up there to do the workout. I overdid it. I left. I said, F this. I want nothing to do with this. No endorphins, just pure
Yep.
pain. I thought I was going to have a heart attack towards the end, and this was 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So I waited 3 days and went back. I said, Ned, you're not young, you're not in shape anymore. Pace yourself, just make it through the class. They tell you exactly what to do, and I did exactly what I was told, and I hit all the goals I was they want you to hit. And I was like, huh, I feel pretty good. Got in my car. It's a 30-minute drive, 40-minute drive home. About 10 minutes into my drive, the endorphins kicked in. And I was like, that's the best workout I had since I was training to play football.
Yeah.
Because I really was training to play a competitive sport. That's the best I ever felt. I called my brother up. I said, this is freaking awesome. You have to know nothing about conditioning. You may have never been an athlete. You may never worked out in your life. You show up with your socks and shoes and shorts and shirt on. The coach there will tell you exactly what to do. The screens in front of you tell you exactly what you do, and you just listen and don't overdo it, but work. And it's just you
Yeah.
competing with yourself. It's a layup. It's an awesome workout, and it was. And my brother's a partner, and we end up owning six studios now, and they were terrific. It's still a great franchise, still a great workout, but COVID really hurt our business. It did.
Yeah.
And I would be lying to anybody if I said, everything's perfect. Like we were making money in 2018, 2019, like their ROI was 42%. And
Wow.
there were business studios out there in North America, around the world, doing better than that, returning 50%. I mean, that's unbelievable. And
Yeah.
now we're not even close to that. And COVID really kicked the fitness industry's ass. Once we came out of COVID, there were more concepts. Other people were kind of stealing our idea, building it into their bigger box gyms. They
Yep.
had enough room to build some things in. And people did hybrid working. They started working at home, working out. So now there's people not working out, people working out poorly, working out at home. Other concepts have come and gone.
Yep.
Some have stayed. So our membership has dropped from like where you're making money here to you're just barely making money.
Yeah.
And with that comes a lot of, private equity came in and bought us up, and not us, but the parent company, like they do for most of these companies.
Yep.
And yeah, they squeeze you for everything you can get. And as a franchisee, you're independent until it comes to money, and then it's
Yeah.
their money they want. And anything against you personally, any problems with customers, it's all you. You're
Yep.
completely independent. Get your own lawyers, get your own, figure everything out. And oh yeah, we'll help you as much as it matters in our pocket. After that,
Yeah.
so starting off was very difficult because I always played for a team or worked in a team concept and learned as I went. And I had a good support system. Well, when you buy a franchise, you got a good support system, but they're not sitting next to you.
Yeah.
They're not next. So I had to go and hire uh, a general manager to build out a studio. I had to, hire people. My first studio manager, coaches, and that was the most difficult thing I ever did in my life. To go from was I 40 years old? I was 40 years old, left the business who now I knew my business well. And that took a transition. Then all of a sudden be an entrepreneur. Like, yeah, they tell you how to do it, but you still gotta do it. You gotta
Gotta
hire,
do it.
you gotta run these people. And guess what? Everybody you're working with isn't Notre Dame, isn't Dan Marino, isn't playing
Yeah.
NFL like the best of the best of the best,
Yeah.
isn't Wall Street, the best of the best.
Yep.
You're working with people who could give a shit what they do this day. They care, but they don't care,
Yeah.
and they're not making that money. And you are trying to get them to work at a level that you would think anybody works at.
Yeah.
my mom said, you're going to clean the toilet and they clean it well.
Be the best.
And you cut grass in my dad's backyard. You better cut grass nicely, rake the leaves up, rake the grass up. Like he had expectations, so we had expectations. So I go and I'm getting involved, and I'm like, not everybody has the same expectations,
No.
and that stress alone was I lost 40 pounds. I worked 64 straight days.
Wow.
64 straight days. I went in as we were building out the place, just in pre-sales, and I lost 40 pounds from stress, and it was a killer. But going into our third studio, we hired a woman who, the moment I met her, I said she's a rock star, and she's now our regional manager. She's a part owner, and she's a rock star. And she basically handles all the people in 6 studios from Allentown, Pennsylvania to Monmouth County, New Jersey, and we're doing okay, but it's not the days we had before COVID. So once again, 58 years old, soon to be 59. I'm like, time to transition. Meantime, I was making other investments in some venture capital stuff with my brother. We own some real estate that some does well for venture, some doesn't. Real estate usually does well. That's been fine. But when you're self-employed, you pay your own
Everything.
insurance.
Okay.
You do, if we pay $50,000 in healthcare for our kids and so the challenges become different. The independence is nice because you don't have a boss, you're your own boss. When things go bad, there's nobody to lean on. Like it's
Yeah.
you.
It's only you.
Everybody wants to get a raise, even though the top line's dropping or bottom line's
Yep.
dropping. Everybody wants a raise because they're working hard. But you're like, if you're working hard and successful, we should be going like this. Like
Yeah.
most companies fire people.
Yeah.
So when you're small business, it's kind of hard to do that because you still need
Yeah.
people and they're good people. So anyway, they're still running and they're a great workout. It's unbelievable workout. It's a great franchise, but it's not the moneymaker it was before. So now I'm transitioning. I'm working with Integris Financial, and I do some financial planning with them. We do insurance, we do real estate, we do a lot of different things. It's a fairly new industry, not industry, but business that has been built from guys who've been in multiple different industries that I've mentioned and other ones, the legal field, and they're coming together under the same umbrella and been working a couple of years to put this together. And I just recently saw wonderful products that I could represent and be part of, and I'm starting over again. Like I'm not going to be a specialist on insurance like you are, or financial planning, a specialist, or a specialist on medical revenue recovery that has a law firm that basically does all the arbitration, goes to arbitration for
Yep.
the doctors and the doctor offices out there when they're underpaid from the insurance companies. So there's multiple different products. But what I do know about myself is I'm a team player. I learn. I drive myself hard. I can be trusted. And does that all work to success? Not always, but I know that sports, Wall Street, my challenge is building your own business, even though it's a franchise and being a owner, that you got to deal with so many people and deal with everything behind the scenes, and then go into another business that I can do it and I'm surrounded by very successful people, people like yourself in the industry you're in the insurance business, the advisory business. Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, just to pick your brain, pick the other people's brain is helping me so far, but it's a challenge. So I go back just on, I went to college, NFL, Wall Street. There's nights you don't sleep well.
Yeah.
You have dreams. You go, where do these nightmares come from? Well, you're doing something you're not used to doing.
Yeah.
So anytime people change what they're not used to doing, you're gonna have sleepless nights.
Yep.
You're gonna have those nights you wake up saying, "Why am I sweating?
You'll be
Where's this
uncomfortable.
crazy
Yeah.
thought coming from?" Because you're making yourself uncomfortable, and that's not fun. But when you do find out when you're uncomfortable, you grow.
Yeah.
I mean, so through my experience, and people have a lot more experience than me, and some people have a lot less. But I know in my experiences from sports, the people I met, the opportunities I've been given, the opportunities I made for myself, Wall Street, owning your own businesses, now transitioning into this other world now that's not new to me because I got pieces of this in my life already, but and I don't need to be a specialist in anything, but it's a change.
Yeah.
And I am so fortunate doing all these things over time because I got so many unbelievable experiences that are so
Yeah.
different than the other one.
Experience and relationships. They all come together.
Going from, college football, I still see my friends who are in multiple different businesses and the success they had and the friendship, but we could sit there and talk like we were in the locker room yesterday.
Yeah.
The guys in the NFL who are successful, some are, some aren't, some are greatly successful, all different levels, and they all took things they learned. And yes, it was a transition for every single one of these guys, whether it's 2 years they played or 20 years they played, there's a transition. Then to work on Wall Street and the challenges of that, but the wonderful people I met, the customers, the skill sets I learned. I mean, it then to become an entrepreneur and run your own businesses and hire
Yeah.
people and have to make the decisions. My brother is a big help and Dana, who's incredible regional manager, partner with us, incredible. We have 100 employees but I wouldn't do it over again. Yes, I would want success.
Yeah.
It wasn't always success. I got laid off when First Boston bought DLJ in 2000. The greatest opportunity ever. I went to Jeffries. Best job I ever had. 9 years. That was like the most rewarding job I ever
Yeah.
had. Not financially only. Like when we got trades, we could make a difference. We
Yeah.
were trading the toughest stocks out there. We didn't have investment banking. We didn't have a great research product. What Cantor Fitzgerald, Jeffries and Company, and Wheaton did, we'll give you the shit trades that you got to work your butt off. You got to get this done for us and not affect the marketplace. And I don't want the whole world to know that we're selling this position or we're buying this position. At the end of the day, you end up putting up a huge trade in a very difficult stock that you all, as a team, whether you're in LA, Boston, New York City, trading desk, whoever you may be, that you're making the right phone calls and you put together a trade, then you own that stock for the next month because they know you know where all the bodies lie, all the
Yeah.
the sellers and buyers live, and man, you feel like you accomplished something. Then you get a
Yeah.
couple easy trades to sit in that chair because they only have so many tough ones. Then they'll
Yeah.
do business with you, so they want to make sure you have a seat and you're making a living. And when they get a tough ones, it's going to go to Cantor, Whedon, or Jeffries. They're
Yep.
not giving Goldman Sachs the tough ones. You know why? Goldman Sachs has investment banking they have to pay for. They got unbelievable, this was back in the day, unbelievable research they have.
Yeah.
You have to pay them. They didn't have to pay us.
Yeah.
These clients did not have to pay us because we didn't give them all this deal flow. We weren't Frank Quattrone at First Boston during the tech bubble of the late 1990s when Frank Quattrone was the number one tech analyst in the world and the internet was blowing up. All these companies and guys like Mark Cuban became billionaires, and then his company, which they sold for $1 billion, goes under 2 years later.
Yeah.
So God bless Mark Cuban. He's so smart. Yeah, he is. Well, he was smart enough to sell his company and then it became worthless.
Yeah.
Um, but I lived during that. I saw
Yeah.
it firsthand. I saw the money that was made, the money that was lost. I learned so much. So, to be part of that was incredible. So,
Well, it's all gonna be part of the book, right?
all part, yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's another story.
Another story.
I always think about it as I get older, people mellow out. Even the people that, maybe offended you, hurt you, weren't exactly on your team, they mellow out. You get older, you just you don't. I like the relationships I have. I like the friendships I have. I like the being involved with the University of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I like my relationship. When you write a book, so read Scherner, going full circle back to high school. I got a lot of compliments on that diary. It was really well. You could probably look it up. It was really well written by Reed. It was well done, and I think we cover so many different areas that a young recruit goes through, whatever sport it may be. Try to keep a lot of garbage out of there, but I was pretty damn honest. Um, I'm sure a few coaches woke up the second day going, "Oh my God, what's coming out tomorrow?" But nobody had to worry when it was all said and done.
Yep.
Didn't burn anybody down. I didn't want to. That was not the purpose. Um, but definitely interesting. Um, After I get done at Notre Dame, I was playing for Seattle, and I get a phone call from my friend Reed Scherner. And USA Today wanted to do a follow-up on the kid who
Really?
6 years ago, we ran a 3-day diary on. We want to see what's happening in his world now, like how that turned out, where he is today. And I thought about it for a day or two, and I called Reed back. I said, Reed, I was extremely honest in high school when I was doing this with you. Like there wasn't much to hide. I
Yeah.
wasn't telling like I was drinking beer and making out with my girlfriend. I wasn't telling that
Yeah.
story. Like who cares?
Yeah.
We're in high school, but there's things to tell the story properly to really understand what it is to go through competing at that level against that many players with changing coaching staff. Don't forget, I went through a changing coaching staff. Not like I went to Joe Paterno and was there for 20 years later, 20 years before.
Yeah.
You know, Coach Holtz came in.
Yeah.
Coaching staff came in. They got to recruit their players. You're Jerry Faust's guy. So, there's a little bit of that. And I'm not the only person that dealt with that. And but I said to Reed, I said, I in good faith can't tell a story about what it's like to play Division I football, compete at the highest level, have success at the highest level, and be honest, because it won't be a fairy tale book. It'll be
Yeah.
some things that would shock people. It would be things that would make people go, "Oh my God!" Like
Yeah.
when I had to get my next job on Wall Street, they said, "Well, you never had any tough times." A couple of those stories I pulled out, and like I said, within minutes, I got my job because it was a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
And when you're 18, 19, 21 years old, and it's not just me, there's other people out there, but I saw it firsthand. I had a lot of success, and it still happened to me. Two-time captain, two-time All-American, national championship team. I could still write a book that would be probably not a read. Like people would not be happy about some of the things that I could say,
Yeah.
but that's fine. I mean, well, even now, I'm not saying anything specifically. It's just
No.
in general, like the world's not pretty. And I remember coming home to a lot of friends in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, big Notre Dame fans. I'd be at the Subway alumni meetings, not meetings, but events they would have, and up in the cold regions of Pennsylvania or New Jersey, someplace Montclair, and they'd be. I'm still in college, even after college. And they'd be like, "Oh, Notre Dame is great. It's heaven." And Coach Holtz and the coach this and I said, "Listen, guys, if you want me to stay more than 10 minutes, because I love to drink beer with you and tell stories, and we can yuck it up all day long
Yeah.
at the firehouse or in your backyard. But I'm going to tell you now, understand, Notre Dame is not heaven on earth. No place is. Coach Holtz is not God and doesn't walk on water. There was one perfect person, they crucified him. So if you understand that in our conversation, I'll sit here and bullshit all day long. But if I gotta hear you keep telling me this, I gotta leave because I
Yeah.
might get sick to my stomach because there is no perfect place and there's
Yeah.
no perfect situation. Not in your life, not in my life, not in
No.
anybody listening to this show. I don't
Right.
care if you're Goldman Sachs, you're no, they got horror stories. You
Yeah.
name anything, there's horror stories in everybody's life. And I would be a damn liar. So therefore I did not do a follow-up. I never did, and I probably never will. I never
Okay.
will. But along the way, those tough times teach us a lot of lessons. And
Yeah.
people who do learn from adversity have get stronger and do have success later on, whatever success may look like. But people who can't deal with adversity, you know, I feel bad for them
Yeah.
because, it can crush you.
Yeah.
It can crush you. Adversity comes every day. And so I talk to even my kids, but I talk to other young high school kids, younger that play sports. I'm like, it's not about just the wins and losses. Like it's to prepare you for life.
Yeah.
With life, your parents play a game every single day.
Yeah.
And when the helmet's off and you're done, like my dad said, Ned, I don't care if it's 21 years old or 31, one day the games end.
Yep.
You better play them, enjoy them, and get the most out of them and learn from them. Because when you
Yeah.
get to life, that's a game that's for real. And I
It doesn't
found that
end.
out.
That game doesn't end.
It never instantly puts you in the
And
ground.
it only gets harder.
It gets harder, and
Yeah.
I mean, I love the fact that Jeff, I met you a couple of times, but I never knew you had podcasts till recently. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is great. This is
Yeah.
this is a different part of you that you probably have known was there, and you wanted to do it. And you finally said, "Hell, I'm
Yeah.
I'm going to
Let's do
set up
it.
my own
Yeah.
podcast." And
Yep.
I'm excited to be here today and on it with you because you went out of your comfort zone and now you found another comfort zone. You're
Yeah.
very good at what you do. And that must feel good.
Oh, it's a lot of
Oh,
fun.
good.
This has been in a blink of an eye, 128 episodes,
Wow.
you know.
That's
It
phenomenal.
seems like the first one was yesterday, but it's I'm having a ton of fun. I get to talk to guys like you, and talk about sports and business and the world and events and life. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Is these different stories that people just they don't get to hear every day.
No, they don't. And you know what? Not everybody, you do your job well. And then you say there's something inside you say, I want to do something different. I want a different challenge. You may have a passion. Like I think it's a passion. I'll figure
Yeah.
it out. Then you probably became very uncomfortable when you started doing this whole work on your podcast. You probably had some sleepless nights. You probably questioned yourself often. You probably thought, I can't do this. I can do this. Oh, who the hell knows? I'm terrible. Then 128 episodes later, I'll tell you, because I've been on a lot of different ones, you're pretty damn good at what you do.
Well, I
And I
appreciate
see
that.
you're very comfortable sitting there, with your strong hat in front of the Are You Strong? And
Yeah.
you look like
But
you
don't forget this.
in the Catholics versus convict. You
Look at
look
that.
like you've been doing this for 25 years.
Yeah.
And that's a great feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're doing this. And I'm so happy that you invited me to be part of your day and your listeners
Yeah.
hour or so, whatever this show's gonna run for. I mean, we could talk for hours. We gotta be
Oh
back
yeah.
some other time, but this is what I talk about when you make transition in life. I don't care. It's one job, next job, different industry, another industry. It does get exhausting.
Sure.
It does wear you down, but also it reinvigorates you. It gives you experiences and memories that you can never, good
Yeah.
and bad, they never could imagine. And the
Yeah.
whole time you're learning.
Yeah.
I would never think growing up that I would be sitting here at the age of 59, soon to be, talking about, the four different jobs I've had, like
Yeah.
this. It's four completely different
Yeah.
industries,
Yeah. Yeah.
completely different
Yeah.
industries. I'm like, what the? And yeah, I wish I was Elon Musk doing two
Yeah.
different things very well. He does multiple different things, but
Yeah.
they just do one thing extremely
Yeah.
well. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Well, Ned, we
yeah.
talked about a bunch of stuff, man. We talked about coming out of high school, talked about going to Notre Dame, after Notre Dame, NFL, Wall Street, entrepreneurialism. I could talk to you for another 2 days. But is there anything we haven't touched on you think we should hit before we wrap it up?
Um, you know what? Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You have to believe in yourself. I was very fortunate to have two wonderful parents who were family first, education first, do the right thing. It's better to be respected than liked, but it's better to be respected because you're a good person. You got a good soul, not a pushover, but be a good person. And that did me well throughout my life. Even times that maybe I missed the opportunity because I could have been more cutthroat or something maybe at the time. But no, I was very fortunate to have good parents. But if you don't, and I was around guys and women, but mostly guys who came from nothing, broken
Yeah.
families, maybe a grandparent raised them. And when they're successful, I have so much respect for these people because I should be successful in life. I had good family. I came from a good community. I had good coaches, good teachers. Like the foundation is set. How
Yeah.
about the young man, young woman that come from broken families, no guidance, alcoholic parents, abusive, whatever it
Yeah.
could be, no, and they make it in life, and they turn out to be good
Yeah.
human beings, helping society, successful not just financially, but as a parent, as a father and mother. That's so impressive. But one thing that these people learned, and they have, and I've learned, and some people got it right away. Some people got to learn. Some people never get it. You got to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will.
No.
Like it's easy to cheer on the person that's successful, but it's not easy to get there. Like Tom
Yeah.
Brady is Tom Brady now. Dude, when he was second team with the Patriots, nobody was like, "Hey, I love you, Tom Brady. You're the great."
Yeah.
No, no. They thought he was a piece of shit. He was a
Yeah.
second round draft pick out of Michigan. Stinks.
Yeah.
And that goes for anybody.
Yeah.
Until you prove it, people don't give a shit about you. They really
Yeah.
don't. They're nice, they're friendly, but you gotta be really your best coach, your best motivator, your
Yeah.
best psychologist. And that's not easy to do,
No.
but you know it. And I've seen guys that had nothing that were somehow able to get that. And I want people there to know that you have to believe in yourself no
Yeah.
matter what. I mean, believe that you can be successful. Don't believe you're gonna be 7 foot tall and can dunk a basketball because you're
Yeah.
only 5'11". There's reality, and then there's perseverance, and then there's
Right.
you know effort. And when it comes to perseverance, effort, most people can do it. But you got to say yes when people
Yeah.
tell you you can't do it. You got to say yes, I can. That's it. That's what I want to say. And
That's a great message to leave everybody with, and you got to believe it because if you don't believe, who's gonna,
nobody,
right?
nobody, and
No.
nobody cares. They care. Your family cares, and that's it. Like
Yeah.
besides that, they want you to do well. And some people want to see you. It's like Notre Dame. Some people want to see you fail. Some
Yeah.
people want to see you do well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either way, you just want them to talk about you a little bit.
Well, Ned, listen, man, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it. Your story is, again, I could talk to you for 2 more days, but maybe we'll get you on here for round two,
That's fine.
but again, thanks again. And how I always wrap it up is to tell everybody stay strong.
I love it.